I had so much fun last time that I decided to do this again. Just so anybody out there knows, if they're viewing this live, if they click the little blue box in the top left corner, it'll open up the chat. They can comment, they can post questions, whatever they want, and you will see it on the side there. So, yeah. So, love the Batman shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm a big Batman.
This on my Oilers jersey.
Well, I don't know about that one.
I'm waiting for the New Jersey Devils to come through as well.
I'm a Red Wings fan. Michigan fan. And then all Detroit teams, basically. You know, I'm a homer. So anyways, I got to make my first D&D character last night for the new D&D.
Okay. Oh, yeah, 5th edition, right?
Yeah, I love it. I was going through it, because I only have the free basic right now. Decided to...
you should probably get the alpha. It's significantly more fleshed out, and it's basically all the same information from the basic.
Oh, is it?
Well, you can get the starter set as well, though.
Yeah, I have the starter set. I have the starter set, and I have the basic PDF. The
Alpha has all the updated spells. It's just not entirely as fleshed out as the player's handbook. I'm trying to save up my money to get that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so I went through it. I made a dwarf cleric of life, and I haven't read up all the rules yet for like the spells and how that works. But I did. I'm muting Anthony for a minute. I haven't checked out the spells yet and how all of those work, but I have made sure to, read up on some of the basic combat rules. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like how they did the advantages and disadvantages, because it's basically just roll a d20. If you have advantage, you take the higher of the two. If you have disadvantage, you take the lower. That is simple as hell to remember.
What about the proficiencies? Do you like that? I seem to like that a lot too.
That was actually really interesting, because it basically made it so you don't have like full base attack bonuses anymore, where each individual class had their own base attack bonus, with wizards being the lowest and fighters and barbarians and stuff having full. It's now everybody has the same proficiency progression.
Amount. Yep. Yeah, it definitely looks a lot nicer and easier, obviously for multi-classing, which people have mentioned. I like the trinkets table. I think mine was a dragon scale. I have a large dragon scale or something, so that's kind of cool.
I have a crystallized tear as an earring, and I actually made it part of my background as a fairy's tear that was crystallized, and she gave to me after saving her life. It was really cool.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
Huh.
I don't exactly like the randomness of some of that, but I think that's mostly just to help you make your background. I think the better thing would be is you can take a look at the trinkets and be like, which one of these fits my character really good?
You could still do that. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to. But yeah, I like it a lot, and there's a lot on there too. So
the backgrounds. Cool. I love the backgrounds, because your backgrounds now give you bonuses instead of just being background.
Right. Yeah, I took the standard acolyte just because it went with the cleric. I didn't want to get too complicated with it, and I liked that. So I'm rocking some chainmail, which is cool. So that gives me an automatic 16 to my armor class, I guess. And then I got the shield, which is another
dex bonus, 2. As soon as you get into medium armor, you no longer apply your dex bonus.
My dex was 7, so yeah, I didn't roll that very well. But my con is 19 from the +1 for being a hill dwarf. And then 17 for my charisma, I think.
Damn. You're a good-looking dwarf.
Yeah, of course I am. Just imagine it like me. A little worse looking, though.
So like Anthony.
Yeah, can I unmute you now? I muted you, but I don't know.
He's still muted.
Yeah, are you able to unmute yourself, Anthony? No? Doesn't look like it.
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure. I felt bad. And how do I say your name? Is it Chepe?
Chepe works.
Okay. And is that just a screen name, or is that your real name?
No, it's technically it's my name in another language, or kind of the Italian version, Joseph. It's just
Oh, okay.
a different version.
Well,
Chepe.
nice to meet you. I don't think I've seen you around before. So.
I've tried making videos, but they weren't really that good, so I deleted them. You've probably seen my long paragraph somewhere on the Facebook group.
The YouTube RPG Brigade?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I've
Very
been
cool.
on the Facebook group for quite
My
a while.
5th edition character is a monk. I don't have any armor, and another thing I liked about the proficiency bonuses is because now usually a monk is basically supposed to be an alternative to the rogue, where
Okay.
it's basically just damage, secondary damage. While now I can basically be an alternate tank in my campaign if I
I've
feel
got to
so
admit,
inclined.
I'm not going anywhere near 5th edition until all the core books are out.
All the core books have come out. Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and Dungeon Master's Guide have all been released as of now.
The Dungeon Master Guide hasn't yet. The
No.
Monster Manual did just recently at Gen Con, but the
No, the
DMG
Dungeon
hasn't.
Master's Guide was at Gen Con as well.
Really?
No,
I have
they're-
not seen that or
They're
heard.
they're due out over the next 3 months.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It doesn't release to
Players
games for
first,
3 months, but it was at
Dungeon
Gen
Master's
Con
Guide
and a
second,
few others.
and then according to Amazon over here, it's Players is out now, Dungeon Masters next month, then Monster Manual's out last. Which is
Yeah, my
really
understanding.
weird.
Yeah, my understanding is the only people that could get it early, or at least the DMG, which will be out in December, and 3 weeks earlier for Wizard Play Network. So you won't even be able to buy that until November. That's what I heard. Now, I could be wrong. I didn't go to Gen Con, but did anybody buy it at Gen Con? Do you know?
It was kind of a surprise whenever they kind of revealed it. If you got a certain pass, like if you got the gold pass, you got access. You were basically given the Dungeon Master's Guide free if you went by the table.
Was it? Oh, so it was like a contest kind of. Okay.
I think so. It was the way Fox Winter told me whenever he went, but he was kind of pissed that he didn't buy that particular pass so we can get the Dungeon Master's Guide along with everything else.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it sounds like it's like a priority entry ticket, which costs X amount more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to get them. I actually have been talking to a local game store about running encounters, and we talked about doing it at the end of September. But now that I've done some research, after I talked to the general manager and owner there, I found out that apparently I can't even try to jump in until October because of the way Wizards of the Coast does it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to jump in October or if I have to wait till December because of when they pick up the adventure path and how that all works. I have no idea.
It's probably because you got to wait for the release of the Monstrous Manual.
Well, it's not that. It's the release of the adventure for encounters. So
It's when their season starts.
Yeah, I think it's the season starting thing. Now, somebody told me I could do what they call casual D&D encounters, where I can still keep track of people's DCI or whatever, DFC, whatever it's called. But I can't run any of the adventures from any of the published books or something. I don't know. I still have to figure all that out. Go ahead, Anthony.
I thought you had to be sanctioned by Wizards to actually run them all and all that.
It has to be.
Because basically you have to send it all off.
Yeah, it has to be a Wizards Play store, which the store I'm going to do this for is. They have, for instance, they get all the books early and all that. They actually sign you up on the website, and then once they sign you up, you can actually access the stuff on Wizards' website. So I'm not able to do that yet. I have to follow up with him in the next couple of days and see what's going on with that and see what he wants me to do. So I don't know. I'm excited about it though. I think it'll be a lot of fun and give me a chance to meet some gamers in my community. And I always like doing that. So yeah.
See, this is the thing. Over here, we haven't really got the same sort of stores you have.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. Our shop's quite small. We don't tend to have the big table out the back where everyone plays.
Right.
Mine's just a small hobby shop. And he doesn't really care what we play and stuff like that. I mean, I can probably go in and be like, hey, I'm going to run a D&D 5th edition campaign. Like, is it cool? And you can probably just go like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. They have an open game night on Wednesday nights. It's open RPG. But I went, and the people there were kind of cool, but they jump games every week. And they alternate between 3 games and 4 different campaigns over the course of 4 weeks.
Wow.
Most of the games I'm not interested in right now, and there's no promotion for it. Part of the thing with the D&D Encounter is they're actually willing to promote it, put flyers out, or things like that. So that's the big draw for me, I think, because I'll be playing a consistent game. I'll be running it, which I enjoy, and it'll be promoted, and that's kind of nice. So.
Well, the thing is, they've got their contracted to do it. To be an encounter store, you are contracted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing you've got to be careful of is people don't start poo-pooing it, because it's just like you've got a consistent campaign running with a consistent set of people, where they won't be jumping between adventures and that.
Well, they do. The new Wizards way is kind of like the Pathfinder way, where now they're going to
do surprise me.
Yeah, it's going to be the experience points, and you can get treasure, and it's got 5 factions. And it sounds like they're taking a page out of Paizo's book with that, because I don't think Encounters has done that way before. At least not when I played in it. So I don't know, but I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So, Anthony, what do you think of the new Star Wars book? Have you seen it yet?
Far Horizons. I actually have it on my desk over there.
Oh, really? Yeah, what do you think of it?
Yeah. I like it, actually. It gives you a lot of options for the colonist. I think it's colonist. And, no, it's good. I had a flip through it earlier. It gives you ideas for starting them off with, like, instead of a ship, you get a home base.
Okay.
And a couple of new races, plenty of new ships, equipment. That's one thing I really like about the books. They're not just class books, they give you a lot more stuff in it for everything.
Okay.
And they're very well put together.
Very cool. Have you
and
had a
I've
chance to
seen
use
the
it or
full.
just read it?
I only got it today.
Oh, okay, so you're just skimming it so far.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I've managed to have a skim of the Fortune Destiny rule beta.
Okay.
Which is very nice.
Very cool.
Why they've done Jedi is very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not stupidly overpowered. You can actually have a Jedi in a party.
Right. I don't know what the big deal is about stuff being overpowered, dude.
Well, the thing is, basically, in previous incarnations, you'd have a Jedi in a party, and the Jedi just basically wipe the floor with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not overpowered. They've done a very good job balancing it all.
Mm-hmm.
But I was skimming that at the moment as well.
So, have you had a chance to check out this new guy's channel? It's I can't think of his name, but his initials are DBJ.
Tabletop Terrorist?
Oh no, I was thinking DBJ.
It is EBJ.
That guy is.
He's on this.
Dave Breon Jackson.
Yes.
Dave Breon Jackson.
His channel is awesome. I love his opinions on things. I love just everything about his channel I like so far. So it's very straightforward.
Where he's about stripping all the shit away and getting back to basically enjoying games from what I can see. Just get back to it,
Mm-hmm.
What is because I think he did the Detect Magic spell, he was talking about Detect Magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I caught some of it.
Yeah, he had one that was like Detect Magic, and like a Detect Magic series. Today I watched one about gold and treasure, and he talked a little bit about economy, kind of. I like that video a lot. Well, I mean, I believe in suspending disbelief a little bit. I still thought it was a good video for sure. So, what do you think of it, Chepe?
it's just great that he actually takes the time to ask the question. Why doesn't suddenly having a massive fortune on you affect you and everyone else around you like it would in any other story or genre or life?
Right.
Like if a poor town just randomly got dumped heaps of gold, you would think that they wouldn't know what to do with it. People would squabble over it. That it would be overrun by people trying to ransack the town.
Yeah. Well, it made me think too. It's like, and I did this in my game recently, where my players wanted to sell some items, and basically the merchant didn't have enough gold. I was like, they don't have. They're telling you they have 40 gold. That's all they have. And then they tried to negotiate. Later on, they found out the merchant had more than that, but still wouldn't have been enough that what they wanted. But it was just the point of, I feel like it shouldn't just be like, oh, in the book it says it's worth this much. Here you go, done. I don't do it like that. So
that doesn't really make any sense anyway. At least if you're trying to make an actual world.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, especially if you're using a small town, they're not going to be. Everyone in there is not going to have thousands of gold. If you read the book, it even says what is it, cost of living for somebody poor is like a couple silver a month or something, and then for someone who's living in like with lots of money, it's like 5 gold a month. So if you scale that, it just doesn't make sense that they would have thousands of gold.
And they will be more often than likely paying you in cattle or like pigs or services, like instead of pure gold.
Exactly. Now I'll suspend disbelief. I don't want my players being paid with chickens and goats and stuff. But
that would be hilarious, though.
Right.
I'll saved us from the dragon. Here's a chicken.
If they arranged a meeting and then they were just gonna have it like a trade-off, and they just dumped a whole herd or just a whole thing of chickens, and they just woke up in camp and there's chickens everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think that would work real well. It'd be fun for a few minutes, and that's about it.
No, but all joking aside, I've always agreed with that approach. That should happen. It's like they'll pay you in horses,
products,
right,
and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because they won't have all the. I think if you want to get a really good module, it's from AD&D First Edition. It's called Villager's Omelette. It's a fantastic module on a town and how it's constructed and all that.
Okay.
Really worth getting.
Did you see DBJ's potions video by any chance?
I think no, not yet. It's in my watch later.
Okay.
How is it? Good?
It's really good. I like it. He was just talking about just use a potion to mix up any particular encounter. Like, why aren't one-shot items used more often just to make things more interesting?
Yeah.
Because if your opponent, if you have a bunch of small goblins and they can heal themselves multiple times, why wouldn't they?
Right. Yeah.
And having a different potion or having something that could like hinder movement or cause wounds changes the tactics of the encounter completely, because that's what they have. You have to go about things.
Oh, that's interesting, because, it is kind of funny to think about that these monsters might have a potion of cure light wounds or whatever, and they never use it. They just let themselves die.
Yeah, but that's just down to the DM,
the fact that
isn't it?
monsters don't run away whenever you damage them enough. That's all of it's gotten. I mean, it's like, why don't they run?
Because that's all down to the DM.
He has another video about that as well, about animal behavior, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
It's the fight or flight principle.
Right, and Anthony and I have talked about this before. A lot of DMs don't play their monsters and stuff smart, and I'm guilty of it too. But I kind of, a lot of times, do it on purpose, where it's just like, okay, we're fighting to the death or whatever. Last session, I had someone try to run and they got caught, so
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Anthony and I have talked about this before. A lot of game masters should probably play their monsters a little smarter in regards to that. But the potion thing is kind of interesting to think about. Definitely.
I mean, that's probably one of the best things in 4th edition was tactics. was the ability to think through how exactly just to have that in the book, how your monster would actually engage the party in combat. Because that's a much better mindset to have than just stat blocks.
Right.
Actually knowing how a creature would engage the party when they actually came up on them.
Yeah, they used to have that though in a lot of the earlier editions of the books.
Yeah.
And they did. It was oh god, it was like Habitat and stuff like that. It was in that lot.
Yeah, second edition definitely had stuff in the book to teach you how your monsters and things like that would react in different situations. Definitely. That was a good monster manual for sure.
Hey, I've always been curious. What was the funniest thing that a player has ever asked you guys, either as a DM or as when you guys are actually playing a character?
Ooh.
Like asked as
Well, I'll give you an example.
Character in character.
The one that pops to mind is whenever I was playing a Warforged Paladin in a 3.5 game. He was a new guy. He was asking us basically, why did you play this character? Like, how does this character work and stuff like that. He was basically getting a feel for each character and race and stuff. And a couple of my friends, one of them playing a rogue, he explained backstab and how good he made him have a high intelligence, so he was very good at skill checks, and high charisma versus high dexterity, so he was very good at negotiating and stuff. When it got to me, instead of giving like this whole spiel about, because as far as he can figure out, Warforged Paladin, that sounds pretty bad. I mean, take a hit to charisma, take a hit to wisdom, all I get is a constitution bonus. But the alternate class features are actually pretty good for a Warforged. But the way I described it is simple. They all get horses as their mounts. For my Celestial mount, I get a 69 Impala.
Yeah, I don't know. What about you, Chepe? Do you have anything?
Do you have any? No, not that I could comment on stream.
Yeah, I can't really think of anything really funny that anybody
I can think of funny
asked me.
circumstances, but I can't think of like a funny question I've been asked.
Right. Yeah, I guess the funniest thing I've heard somebody say about 12 sessions into a campaign was, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that," and they said it all the time. Like it would happen like 3 times a session. So I don't know. That's the, I guess, funniest thing anyone's ever asked or said.
I've done that before. I played in a Pathfinder game as a rogue, and the other guys weren't really used to thinking about problems creatively.
Right.
But I ended up getting them to, because I had a disguise kit, and I don't even remember what bonuses I had, but I was really good at disguises, so I decided to disguise me and another person as my person, as the cult that we were sneaking into. I snuck in, and I was so busy on all the role-playing of trying to sneak in, talking to people, and trying to get all the information to give back to the party.
Right.
I forgot that I was a rogue and had trap finding.
Nice.
And ended up getting caught by a trap that took like half my health, and ended up getting captured. Thankfully, I let the guy who was disguised as my prisoner, even though he was naked.
That's a good disguise.
I him behind a statue before going into the hallway, so thankfully he was able to get back to get to the party, but it ended up becoming a rescue mission for me instead. Me actually, instead of me doing an intelligence operation.
Oh man. So I kind of broke one of the big rules last night.
You split the party.
No. Actually, I was supposed to go to my Savage Worlds game yesterday. My DM asked if we were still on. Sent a group like text at about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I don't know when it was. Sometime yesterday during the day. And I forgot that we had our game come game time. My phone usually is on silent when I'm not at work or not, doing work. I saw a text at about 7:30 saying, "Hey, are you coming over?" And I completely forgot. So I said, "If you guys can wait 40 minutes, I'll be there," because it's about a 40-minute drive. And so I got there. We were supposed to start at 6. I got there at about 30, and we played for like 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, it was. I felt really bad that I forgot about it. Yeah. There's my confession for the night.
Yeah, that kind of happened with the 5th edition. That we were playing with the starter rules, and I think the 3rd and 4th session I wasn't able to make it, and there was a miscommunication regards to the schedule. I thought we were doing one shots, and they thought we were doing a campaign. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can cause a mix-up.
I was just complaining about this to them even a few weeks ago, because my first Pathfinder session, I had a player who had never played before. I shouldn't even call him a player. I have a friend who had never played before and was supposed to show up, said he would, was all excited about it, and we've talked about it for months. And he didn't call me or show up. I texted him, called him. About an hour and a half in, we actually had started making his character. He said, "Oh, I just woke up, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, why don't you come on over still? We have dinner. You can eat here and all that." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to eat dinner first, and then I'll come over." Didn't call me, didn't show up the rest of the night. And so I felt bad because I remember a couple of weeks ago I was just telling this group about that situation, and then they thought last night that was kind of the situation I was putting them in. So, So what's your guys' biggest sin that you've committed in gaming? You want to start, Mitchell?
I didn't prep. That was the biggest one I had done before. I basically winged the entire game.
How'd it
the
go?
Entire time. I was supposed to be prepping, but I had a whole bunch of college courses that I was taking. Was getting close to finals and stuff. And instead of postponing, I wanted to keep going, but I just never got the time to actually prep. So I ended up winging it.
What system and how long was the campaign going on for?
It's 3.5. It's still going on.
Okay.
I'm thinking about recently changing it to 5th edition, simply because I like it a lot better, and so do a couple of other players.
Yeah. Was it a train wreck of a session?
No, it wasn't. It was actually it was all right. We had a couple new players. I was my college gaming club, the Swella Gamers Club, mostly for video games. But I asked them if they wanted to play D&D with me and stuff, because me and David, the club president, we play all the time. So we thought we'd introduce a couple of the new members to it, and we started. And I didn't do a whole lot of planning, but then I kind of did start planning really good, and to customize a couple of modules, made my own unique art. But before that, it was basically just like, let's spitball this, and we fought some zombies. We found the dead body of a princess and her lover, and had to go take the news back to the king. Then I turned that into the actual thing where we're trying to figure out why are there zombies going on in here.
So it gave you all sorts of seeds for your game that you never would have came up with otherwise.
Yeah, it was basically like, this is actually a pretty good idea. Let's see what I can go with this.
That's cool.
Other than that, I was basically just looking at level 1 challenge rating encounter.
Right. What about you, Chepe? Biggest gaming sin?
I don't think it's a sin, but probably a lot of people would think it is. Making my own system from scratch and just running it.
How was that?
It went well. It went really well. Thankfully, 2 people weren't in RPGs before, but they knew what they were, and that was actually their first experience. And because they haven't been in tabletop RPGs before, they were more open-minded to just learn anything. So it worked perfectly. They actually liked the hobby.
What genre of game?
What genre didn't we do? We ran. It was a trip, and I didn't have a lot of money, so I basically just made a D6 system, and then just rolled with it, literally. We had one about 1920s gangsters, one that also involved robots. I don't know how. Robots got mixed into the 1920s.
Well, a lot of movies back then also had some robots, but they were like really like robots.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too when they were doing it. Like the really old flashing bright lights and stuff.
Or like Lost in Space, the original black and white one.
Yes.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Nice.
We did a zombie We did kind of like a post-apocalyptic survival kind of The Walking Dead kind of feel, getting out of St. Louis scenario.
Okay.
We did my favorite, which was Wizarding Community College.
All
That
right.
sounds fun.
What I had them do, each chose our spells
My
effects.
major is conjuration.
No, not like that. But that sounds awesome. We each chose like 6 abilities, essentially. Their spells, their effects. And in order to cast the spells, there are different types of conditions. But everyone else filled out that player's conditions for those effects that they chose. So it was real fun screwing each other over. Like, one guy just put fire. Like, it's the most ambiguous title ever. He's just fire. So, to balance it out for him, I said his ritual, which was a type of condition, was to stand in a bucket of water on both sides.
And dump ice bucket water on his head for special cause?
Buckets of water, he has to stand in both of them, and he has to pull down his pants, and then he can cast fire. And it's typical Wizarding Community College because it's, community college. Anything could happen.
I thought it was he had to fart and it'd come out that way.
Yes, exactly.
That's cool.
The setting let us have a ball with it, so it was fun.
That reminds me, I forgot what edition it was, but Wizards originally, whenever you had spells, you could actually make your own trigger phrases for it. And I actually found that to be a very interesting thing to do whenever you're playing a wizard. And I played an insane chaos gnome wizard that was cursed to constantly reincarnate and remember all of his stuff.
That sucks, man.
But he did that. He was he said he had a bachelor in conjuration. What that basically means is that he's a specialist focused wizard in conjuration, and he has the ability to teleport as an immediate action up to his intelligence modifier +1 per day. And each time he did that or used any of his teleportations, he put this this Power Rangers pose and shouted, "Zoom zoom ah!"
I love it when people can get into their character like that. It always adds to the feel of the game,
That gives me an idea. I really want a wizard NPC that has a mother conflict that'll just shout "Mom," and just remember his traumatizing experiences.
I gotta take a call real quick.
As he casts the spell.
That's awesome. AJ has joined the chat. Thank you, AJ,
Hello.
for joining us.
Hey guys.
Pleasure to have you back. We've been talking about gaming sins, for example. Mine was I forgot about my gaming session last night that I was supposed to go to. I did show up 2.5 hours late, and they waited for me almost the whole time. So we started when I got there. Yeah, they should have started playing without me, but it's okay. But yeah, it went okay. So what about yours? What's your biggest gaming sin or, thing that could have upset people, I guess?
I've actually lost friends through Dungeons and Dragons games. Usually this is we've got long time running games of every week, and you've been playing for 6 years or so. Things kind of come to a head in a friendship occasionally, and it'll usually happen at the game table, where something that really is not gelling between you and that person or that group comes to a head. And the last one, I won't name names or anything. I'll just tell you the circumstance. This person was playing a Dragonborn character, and it was a very specific sort of. I'm playing my current campaign is a mix-up of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition and Warhammer 40k.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting combination.
Yeah. The tricky thing is that the players didn't know that the setting was Warhammer 40k when they started playing. So as far as they're concerned, they're on a D&D world because it's very much post-apocalyptic. And what happened is, just a little bit of backstory, the world is Medusa 6, which was in a big worldwide wargaming campaign back in 2006, I think. And at the end of that big campaign, after all the galactic armies had battled against each other, the world had been sucked into the warp. And this is where my story arc takes over, where basically the place is completely swamped over with warp demons and all sorts of horrors because it's in the warp. And then the remaining races basically band together. So Tau's are fighting next to Space Marines, are fighting next to Orcs, because they're all basically trying to survive against the forces of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Necrons. And so what happened was they learned to harness the magic of the Eldar and stuff to actually create a mythal around the entire world to shield it from the warp. And so there they were, stuck in the warp for centuries, with no stars in the sky, and the races were then subjected to the tyrannical rule of the overlords, which were the Archwizards who had created this magic in the first place, and they could channel the power of the warp directly, so they're incredibly powerful. And slowly the world drew itself out of the warp again, because the power of the warp was being it was like a bubble that popped back out of the warp again. And the power of the Archmages waned, and the Age of Tyrants came to an end when the people, basically the slaves, rose up and killed them. So that was the backstory, and so as far as they're concerned, they're just on a D&D world where the stars have come back in the sky, and the power of the gods is now available to them again. And the way that Dragonborn fit into this campaign is that they're not. They are the offspring of dragons directly. So dragons have got three sort of stages of breeding. You've got full dragons can mate with each other. They've got dragon that's a bit complicated. Imagine Tiamat as a 5-headed dragon, and she's the mother of all DNA that goes in to make hydras and every other multi-headed dragon. If you kill Tiamat, no more hydras, no more multi-headed dragons. So she's got to bless the mating of two dragons with multiple heads. If a dragon doesn't have the blessing of Tiamat, it will produce a Dragonborn. If two Dragonborn mating that don't have the blessings of their sire, then they'll produce kobolds. So that's kind of how it works. So Dragonborn in this campaign setting have got a very integral backstory, and the way that this player was playing it was she just ignored that and played a Dragonborn to vent all of her frustrations at work, and ended up being incredibly aggressive and fighting every single NPC or monster that came across, no matter what level of monster it was. She was going to attack it. And this ended up almost TPKing the party many times.
Does this mean like, attacking like the clerk at the store? Like, how may I help you today?
So she's playing a Dragonborn noblewoman, with no regard to a backstory or the fact that her behaviour is kind of modified by the fact that she's supposed to be pleasing her sire by becoming incredibly popular, because their breeding is sort of established by becoming the life and soul of the party, becoming legendary. That's how they sort of are attracted to each other. Strength of character. Anyway, it turns out that she didn't really like the character concept, and so she was trying to suicide her character in play. Unfortunately, instead of just taking my advice and just rolling up a new character, and her other character in the story just wanders off and goes somewhere else, she wanted her character to die in combat. Unfortunately, all the other players are of the mindset that if your party mate gets into combat for any reason, you step in and try and save them. So this was leading to a really big problem as a dungeon master, and yeah, I kind of lost it. And yeah, things got heated at the table, and there was also some other stuff that one of the players was away from the table for an evening, and I was playing his character as an NPC sort of thing, and he was just doing his typical rogue stuff, and he put on a cursed ring. They had a scroll of remove curse available to them, and I pointed this out, but she opted to save the scroll and lop his character's fingers off. I said roll an attack. She rolled a critical, severed his fingers, 2 of them, off a thief. And then she proceeded to take the curse ring off his character's severed finger and put it on her toe of her character. So at the time she thought it was uproariously funny, but when the other player came back to the table the next week and they had to explain what had happened, it wasn't funny anymore, and things got rather heated. And yeah, I haven't spoken to her since. So that was unfortunate, and I probably could have done more to control the situation, but yeah, sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I don't want to play in your sandbox anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like letting her walk was the best choice.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because at other times she was a good player, but sometimes you bring the wrong attitude to the table, and there's just no way around it apart from sitting down and having a psychological evaluation of your life and your motivations and stuff. And I just, this has happened one too many times. It was sort of a culmination of years of this sort of stuff going on. But as a result of that, I looked for another player, had a recommendation from another friend of mine, invited a completely new person to the game who hadn't played since the 1980s, and he is fantastic. He's people who have played old editions just sink straight back into 5th edition. That's great. So win-win.
That's awesome, man. Definitely. Yeah, it's one thing if you want to like destroy your own character's fingers and stuff, but when it's another player in your group and you have a way to avoid that, come on. Think about it, people.
Yeah, particularly when the DMs are like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, he's not even here to defend himself. Are you sure you want to do that? I've got a scroll here you can use. No. Lop. Roll the dice. Roll the dice. Anybody else at the table is like, this game is about to implode.
Yeah, that's bad. That's real bad.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Anthony? Do you have a gaming sin that you want to confess tonight here in the congregation?
Give me 2 minutes. I'm just making a cup of tea.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just quickly talk about the game last night that I broke the cardinal rule of being late and all that good stuff. So when I got there, we didn't actually do very much. We were in a town, and it's a racist town between, monster races and humans and celestial type races. It's Shinetar. It's the setting of Shinetar. And we ended up, I'm a giant lizard, and so I'm having trouble role-playing my character. I have a really low smarts. I want to play him as this big brute because that's how I made him. And last night we didn't really have a lot of combat or anything, and it's hard for me to role-play this character. There's not a lot I can do in a racist city when we're talking to humans. And so I just have to sit back, and a lot of our interactions are with human races. So I guess I'm not really enjoying that part of my character, which stinks because I was really excited about my character, and I'm having a lot of fun, describing his actions and things like that. But I don't know. I'm considering talking to the game master about killing my character off and possibly making a human race, just because we only have one human race in our group, and I think it would help me roleplay better with the other characters. So,
are you going to be in that human city for quite some time, or are you going to end up going out of there to go into the wilderness?
Yeah, it's our base of operations is there, so we're almost always there. And our captain is a human, but he doesn't roleplay as often. In fact, last night the goblin wizard was doing a lot of our role-playing, which is just weird. And because it's Savage Worlds, he handles a lot of things with dice rolls and bennies and stuff. So to me, it doesn't make sense that our goblin is doing our negotiating with racist humans.
Right.
But when she's making her rolls, he's letting it happen. It's just a little weird to me. So I just feel like if I made a human, I could do some more role-playing and get more involved. Because right now I feel like if there's no combat, I'm not doing anything in that campaign. So. But I did get to punch a goblin in the face, which was kind of fun.
but surely the DM should be providing you with opportunities to roleplay.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. There's something different about this campaign because it's Shinetar, and he's running the game alongside other game masters in other places. So it's like there's 5 games happening all over the place. We're one set going down a path, and there's other people doing a path. And so he's working things out with these other game masters. So I don't know how far sandboxy we can go. We've kind of been railroaded in a lot of things.
Yeah, but the thing is, but sandbox, stop whatever, right? Doesn't matter, but they should be providing you the opportunities to roleplay, or he should have mentioned to you that's not really the race you need to be playing. Before
Ideally,
you generated it.
He does come from kind of my mindset of, hey, whatever character you want to make. However, when I sat down to make this character, I knew nothing about the setting, knew nothing about the area, which, you know, if you've never played in his campaign, you're not going to know anything about it. It's a new system and everything.
But it don't matter because a player and a DM in a role-playing game have a social contract.
I agree.
You know, you will get to roleplay, not the fact that you're playing this race that isn't right, so you won't be, you'll be ignored. That's not a role. I mean, that's what we were saying last week. Go play chess.
Yeah, he doesn't ignore me. Don't get me wrong. If I want to speak up, I can. It's just I don't feel right with the kind of character I have in those situations. Like it doesn't make sense. I'm a giant lizard trying to tell humans how to treat monster racers when my smarts are a D4, which is the lowest you can be. So I'm not very smart, so I'm not going to be able to negotiate stuff. You know, it just doesn't make sense in character to be that person. So, and I feel I need to be because the other people who have better things like that and are suited for it aren't doing it enough and aren't saying the things that I think are fairly common sense in those situations to say.
Okay, right. You've summed up the thing there. Common sense. Just because you have a low intelligence doesn't mean you don't possess common sense.
Right.
So if it's common sense that you should be speaking up, your character should speak up.
Well, okay, here, let me break it down this way. Say you have an elf and a dwarf, right? They hate each other. So you have you have a party that is all dwarves but one elf, and you're trying to talk to an elven council. The elf should be talking to that elven council because the dwarf is not going to persuade that elven council. You know, it just doesn't, no matter how smart, or even if they say the most common sense type of stuff, it's not going to work. You know? It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I really don't. If the elves will not budge to pay attention to dwarves who are coming and presenting them with a logical discussion on that, they may not get involved, they may come in on the back end after seeing what it is, but it's for the dwarves to prove it. No one in a fantasy game is immovable. Look at the elves in Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, yeah? Look at, if you want to take it to, you should look at Raceland in the Dragon Age.
But the elves in Lord of the Rings listen to the humans, and the dwarves listen to the humans finagle that whole thing. Gandalf and Aragorn set all that up, for example. It wasn't the elves convincing the dwarves.
No, that was Elrond as well. That was Elrond as well.
Yeah, Elrond sort of set them on a purpose of saving the world, so they were united in that. But I'm pretty sure that Legolas and Gimli would have come to blows. I mean, they damn near shot him full of arrows just for carrying axes around. There's a lot of noise in the background there.
Yeah, that's Anthony's work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It sounds like a
torture
Sounds like a
chamber.
various
action
murders
movie
going
going
on.
on or something.
Oh no, the guy I'm watching Captain America.
Oh, okay. What the hell is that?
Okay.
I think you are definitely making some points, Anthony, that are true. I guess for my character, I don't feel like it makes sense. That's all. And so it's hard for me to put myself in my character's shoes in this situation to negotiate things. I didn't make my character to negotiate in the first place. And that was based on when I first met him, the way he described the world, and then the way he and I just talked about him and his characters and his games made me think there'd be more combat. And plus, I wanted this concept. The way I envision my character, he has a weapon called a Kaakor, which is kind of like a halberd. But I made my guy very agile and strong, and I kind of envision him almost like Darth Maul in combat. So I love the whole agile, but he's big and strong and can leap and climb things. And so I love combat with him. Love explaining everything. I try to mix it up and change it up all the time. Like I said, I didn't make him to be smart. I was hoping to build on that as the game went, but I'm having trouble getting into it. So I just think it might be best to kill him and make a new one.
Just asking for a MacGuffin to bump your intelligence up.
What was that, Anthony?
Asking for a MacGuffin to bump your intelligence up.
Well, the way it works in Savage Worlds, when you level, the way the leveling works up is every 5, like you get an experience point, or 2 or 3, for every session. And once you hit a different tier, which it's set up by tiers of 5, so when you get 5, you level up, basically, you spend points. So I can, when I level up here in the next session or 2, I'll be able to up my intelligence. So I could, like I said, build on those things. It doesn't, and I'm fine with this, but even the game master has pushed me away from doing that a couple times and said, hey, you should put more into your Kayakar stuff since that's your main thing. And in the book background setting of the area, these lizards kind of hold these Kayakars very, very dear to their heart, basically. And every so many tiers, you want to level that up. And your character should want to too or something. So he's pushing me towards that.
But the thing I'm getting off you, right, is your character can use that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the point is, he's frustrated. You yourself as a player are frustrated, and therefore your character is frustrated because of his intelligence. Therefore, your character's primary goal will be to up his intelligence, so he can talk instead of these pink things.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the path I want to go. I just wonder if I'd have more fun.
But the problem is your DM. Yeah, but your DM is not letting you follow the character's path because it's not suiting your DM by the sound of it.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I don't want to put this on him. It's ultimately my choice how I level my character. And I really think it's one of those things where I will probably have more fun just making a new character at this point. Because I have my own idea what my character is, and we're already about a fourth of the way through the leveling process. And so I think to change that now might, I guess it's just not the character. It just isn't the character. So I think I'm going to ask him about it, and I'm going to talk it over with him and see where we should go with it. You know, maybe he'll suggest something to me, or maybe he'll say, you know what, yeah, we can give your guy a glorious death, and you'll make a new character. I don't know. So
you could always have a look around the city for dungeons. You know, go into every cellar that you find, and until the GM gets the hint that you're looking to go underground.
Shinetar is very big on anti-dungeons because of Sean Patrick Fannin. But we did find a thieves guild last night because of me punching the one goblin and intimidating him into showing us where he stole this item. So we found a thieves guild. So that might be my glorious death right there.
Don't make me use the fireball.
Yeah, hey guys.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Welcome aboard, Frank. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just got through watching the new Doctor Who, the first episode.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Don't say anything about
No spoilers. I'm going to watch that at the movies today. Do not give me any spoilers.
All righty. Oh, and you know the old saying, cheer up, things could get worse? I cheered up. They got worse.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It turns out when the bone is healing, it's healing crooked. So now I've got 3 fingers taped together. Ah! You ever have one of those issues like, I can't win?
You can always win, Frank. Got to keep that positive spirit going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you only
well,
need a couple of fingers to paint a miniature. Hey,
Yeah,
special brush holding. Yeah, that's weird.
Well, it's his left hand, right? So are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed,
So
thank
you can
God.
still paint. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, yeah.
You got therapy right there.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I got my Viking warband I'm trying to complete. And
How's that coming?
pretty good, pretty good. I'm doing the Viking Bandi now. These are the unarmored warriors, or they've got helmets, but they're not wearing chainmail, extensive armor.
So is that land people who live on the land of the lords and stuff, or the bondsmen?
Something like that. Yeah, they're the lesser landholders. They're farmers essentially, but they were trained as warriors. It's roughly a 3-tier system. And what's in Viking days, you've got of course, the Lord himself, the Jarl, where we get the term Earl. We've got the Hearser, who are his armored retainers. These are the guys in the chainmail with, a crap ton of weapons. And you have the Bondi, who are the lesser. They're a lot of them are landowners, but they're small farmers. And you've got the thralls, who are the slaves. Interestingly enough, the Anglo-Saxons and Anglo-Danes mirrored this to a great degree, where you had the Huskarls, who were the professionals. Interestingly enough, the unarmored warriors were called churls, spelled C-E-O-R-L, but it's where we get the term churl today from, for churlish.
Churlish, yeah. I don't want to go to fight.
Apparently, Natural 20 Films has been watching our video, so just shout out to you real quick. And just to recap you, Frank, we were actually, before you had walked in, and we got a little off topic, and it's my fault, we were talking about the biggest gaming sins we've committed. I was almost a no-call, no-show last night because I forgot about a game. So we left off with Anthony, so I'll go back to Anthony if you want to talk about your biggest gaming sin that you've committed.
Party of 14 people. I ran a game with 14 people for 2 years.
Wow. That's hardcore.
In
You should be given a medal.
Earthdawn. And it was every week for 3 hours.
Wow.
That is insane. How did that go? Was it fun? I mean, did it actually work out?
It went well. It kept me on my toes. Didn't have problems with splitting the party.
That was probably a blessing.
Yeah.
No, it was good. There was great interaction. Because it was like a proper sort of like fellowship, if you know what I mean. Because it was just everyone, and it was all time travel and stuff like that as well. And it was in the Earthdawn setting, which was I really like.
Okay.
And no, but it was a lot of work. It was. No.
Welcome aboard, Joe. Thank you for joining us.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
Right. I'm afraid I'm going to have to dive off because I've got to do a bit of work.
All right. Well, have fun with
the
your
fun.
Captain America background music, Anthony.
Oh, that's Godzilla right in a minute, I think.
Take it easy.
See you all later.
Take it easy, Anthony.
Bye-bye.
See you, Anthony.
So, Frank, what about you? What's your biggest gaming sin that you've committed?
My biggest gaming sin is coming up with NPCs that so dominate the game.
Like a GM or?
Oh yeah, to where there's these sort of super NPCs, they do everything, and the players don't get an opportunity to. And it comes from the, gee, I want to play too, I don't, and that's not how you need to do it. That they just get overpowering. That's probably my biggest sin, I think.
When's the last time you did that?
It's been 5-10 years ago because my daughter basically just sat me down one time and said, "Do you realize what you're doing? Why am I even bothering to play?" Okay. And
my Savage Worlds DM does do that occasionally. He's got his own character that flies and magically comes in and heals people, and sometimes delivers the kill shot just out of the blue. And yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that.
If my old childhood friend Max Ross is watching this, Glint Nightshade, Max. Glint Nightshade.
I'm assuming that was his GM player character.
Started off as a player character and ended up being an NPC that just ran everything. He was the ultimate Mary Sue.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that I got a good dose of it one time as a player, and it's like, why am I playing? This guy's little pet NPC's busy killing all the monsters, and this, that, and the other thing. Of course, it was a really crappy game to begin with, but
what's your most memorable one, by the way? Sorry, you can finish that. Sorry.
I was going to say, but run by somebody who didn't have really a frickin' clue how
Right.
you run Morrow Project.
What's your most memorable GM PC, Frank?
Oh, God. The one I really liked was the one that kind of stayed in the background. If any of you have ever seen 3 Days of the Condor, an old Robert Redford spy movie.
I don't think I have.
Max von
I've never even
Sydow.
heard of Robin Redford.
Yeah, Robert Redford. Max von Sydow plays an assassin named Gilbert. And he's just so cool because he, among other things, paints military miniatures. As a hobby, he's got his little miniature painting kit right there next to his gun with a silencer in his hotel room, right?
Nice.
And so I kind of appropriated him, said, yeah, well, he's retired now. And he was the guy that gave the mercenary team their assignments. And I really liked that. I mean, because he would do it very stylishly, you know. It wasn't one of these going to the dingy office. He'd have them to his little island estate. He'd have them come and spend a weekend there, and then they'd get their briefing and everything else. I had a ball with him.
That's cool.
I had a ball with him.
All right, Joe. So what about you? What's your biggest gaming sin? Do you have one?
Oof. It's not the question of do I have them, it's the question of which one's the biggest.
Yeah.
This is our confessional. Feel free.
I think I've committed pretty much every terrible thing that you can do as a DM.
Reverend Juice presiding.
I don't know. I guess probably the worst one is probably ending up killing most of my players in a campaign because I refuse to let them get away doing stupid things. For
that's not a sin.
I mean,
that's a cleansing.
What kind of stupid things are we talking about here?
Yeah, you have to be specific.
All right, so we're talking about things where, like, you know, they don't, you know, for example, say if they go down the right hallway, they'll learn that, you know, later on they really shouldn't ever go down a door or whatever. And
you're not connecting with me, Joe. You're not connecting with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I essentially think that that's probably the worst. Is like, I have a hard time like allowing, you know, stupid things to ever occur. Like, you know,
like picking a bar fight.
Yeah, if they pick a bar fight and, you know, say I already wrote that, like, oh, there's guards around, sure. Pick a bar fight, and then I end up killing everyone because, you know, the dice are just unfriendly and, you know, just shit like that. I'd say that's probably the worst, mainly because that kills campaigns the quickest.
Yeah.
Yes, I killed my whole group. Campaign's over. Yeah.
That's happened. That's happened. It's just like, you all died. You all died from something terribly stupid. I could have stopped it. I could have, as a GM, intervened and saved this entire campaign, but did I? No.
Yeah, sometimes Paylor just needs to go, fuck it, sun's now on the earth.
Yep.
Let me recreate the A-bomb.
Exactly, just...
Yeah, just wipe the slate clean, let's start this now.
Yeah, you accidentally left a dial up on the calling down the holy fire. Whoa!
Yeah.
There goes that continent.
He left his oven on.
It's like, look at me, I'm a star.
Yeah. Or one of my players did one time during one of our mercenary missions. He was going to be Joe Cool. He was going to pull the pin on the grenade and smash the window of the guardhouse and drop the grenade inside. I think he saw that in, like, The Wild Geese when Roger Moore's character did something similar to that. Except he smashed his fist through a thin wooden door. This guy forgets, this is a sentry, this is a security station. The glass is bulletproof. Smack! And it drops down and rolls right to his feet, and he says, well, I says, well, shall I give the gory details? He says, I could just imagine. Give me a few minutes, I'll get a new character. Okay.
That single pane couldn't be glass. It had to be bulletproof glass.
It's a security set. I said this is the security.
I know.
And I figured if you don't understand that, you know, because another guy did it the right way, which is the way I learned, and that was to take you take a grenade, You take out the whole pin fuse mechanism, which you can. I used to do this for a living. And you get one of the instant grenades, like a smoke grenade, which will detonate instantly. And you take that whole primer setup and you screw that in the body of the HE grenade. You look around for like a convenient hole, about like that, like a vent pipe that's kind of tight.
Drop it in.
Drop it in.
Yeah.
It drops out, pop, boom. Hey. And it works.
Worst case scenario, you take out their heating system.
Yeah, you rattle them up.
The coffee machine! No!
Mr. Coffee, Mr. Coffee!
Our water heater's going. Damn!
No!
Yeah.
All the sentries are asleep.
Funny. What was that?
Actually, kill them all.
Johnny letting off a grenade again.
Yeah, well, there you go. By the way, has anybody here ever played Twilight 2000?
I've always wanted to.
That better not be related to the movie.
Oh, no.
No,
Twilight 2000 is one of the old school games that was around when Traveller and Redbox D&D and Spy, TSR's Spy thing. Yeah, it's an old game. Really good, though.
Yeah, well, I did adventure modules for it. I've had, like, a number of them published.
Oh, very cool.
And it was a lot of... It's interesting because I brought a lot of... people used to really not like to play in my games, sort of.
Well, that's because you were GMPCing them out of the game.
No, actually, I was conducting realistic firefights.
You were shooting your players for real?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding, Frank. I'm kidding.
No, I'm
Knock
running...
over the table.
No, actually, what's funny is, I actually had one player, I swear to God. They're in the middle of a firefight with a Soviet airborne squad. And I mean, the lead's flying thick, fast, and furious. And this kid goes, "Hey, did I get him?" I said, "You want to look?" And he sticks his head up. So roll up a new character.
Yeah.
It's kind of... That's when
for anybody who's not aware, some background of Twilight 2000, it's basically what if the Cold War got worse and all of the bad political situations in the world actually carried on and got worse and worse and worse to the point where you basically got a world Cold War sort of thing going on. That's basically just right, Frank.
That does sound interesting. Does anyone here watch Seven Realms Productions? They did a Gen Con Part 5 today, or the other day, and I haven't watched the whole thing, but they started talking about a game that was released that is an alternate universe of our world, and it's the Nazis had won World War II.
Wow, that's
Wolfenstein.
And they're trying to go back and help the Nazis in this world win World War II. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the game, but it was on their latest video, and it just sounded kind of interesting, the brief little bit I heard.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I always thought that was interesting. What if, the Nazis won World War II kind of thing. What would the world be like? Obviously suck, but,
Well, it's like a great deal.
Sounds a lot like Wolfenstein.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, I just got World War Cthulhu today. Came in the mail.
Nice.
Darkest Hour, to go with my set of Achtung Cthulhu. So now I've got World War II, mythos involvement covered, I hope. And by the way, this is very good. It's a Cubicle 7 production. Those people ever put out any bad-looking games?
Everything I've read from them is just phenomenal in quality and production.
I mean, Lord of the Rings, the One Ring, it's just an amazing... I buy it for the artwork as much as I did for the game, for the artwork and for the writing.
The One Ring's really good. Chen the Warring States that they did, that's really good. And Yggdrasil is the other one I've read through, and that's also really well done. Just throughout.
I've got their Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space RPG. That's superbly done.
How does that game work exactly? Because it sounds cool, but are you one of the doctors?
Tiny, whiny, wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, what I've done is I've got the Time Traveler's Companion, and I've got the unit source book. And while I was on this spree, by the way, I also bought the Primeval RPG. And for those of you that have seen, and you suddenly, AJ knows where this one's going. But what I'm going to do for the one I'm doing when I go back down to Tampa is that I talked it over with my players, and I asked my daughter would she like to be the Time Lord, and she could create a Time Lord character any way she wanted. She's a professional artist. She's very creative. And an excellent gamer, and she's a real Whovian. Absolute. So I said, yeah, go ahead.
So people can play as a Time Lord, but only one person can, obviously.
That's usually the best way to do it. Or you can actually have an entire party that are not Time Lords.
How does that work, though? Do they travel with the Doctor, then?
Yeah, well, you can come up with an NPC Time Lord.
Right up your alley, Frank.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing, like, for example, when you run Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
Somebody's the Slayer. If you want to do it that way, somebody is the Slayer, the one and only. And you kind of build the group around them, because Buffy had her Scooby Gang. And it's the same thing. Now, fortunately, I've done that to where one of them was the Slayer, although she didn't want to be. It was funny. I don't want to be the goddamn Slayer. Well, you are.
You could alternate characters every session. Like, oh, you were the Slayer last time, now the person to your right is the Slayer.
That's not a bad idea. If you're familiar, it's like the old Ars Magica game, the troop style of play, where each chronicle, someone's the mage, someone's, you rotate it around.
Yeah. I think that'd be cool.
Looks like everybody's powers just switch to the right.
Yeah. It would be fair. I mean, I can only imagine how much fun it would be to play Willow for, 20 sessions of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yeah. Yeah, no, but they actually have a gradient system. It's a system whereby you have the veteran hero, I think they're called, the hero, and the white hats, and they're each one a different level. Different, you get different points. The equalizer is what's called drama points. And those are fun because you get a lot of them when you're a white hat because you're a relatively weak character. But boy, you can spend them drama points like crazy and get, you can see for yourself being curb stomped by a werewolf. Something like that.
Nice.
But it works a great deal.
Very nice. I just want to say hey to Trey. He's only got a few minutes. But maybe we can get him to answer his biggest gaming sin.
Wow. All right.
We've got GM PCs over here. We got, me almost no call and no showing because I forgot of the game. Things like that. So feel free to. Yeah, he didn't prep and ran a session completely off the hip, and it went okay.
His player characters.
I gotta say that's my biggest sin is not reading the whole book. Just running the game as a GM and knowing nothing. Like Shadowrun 5th Edition, I got a campaign going right now, and luckily the guys are okay with doing once a month, but I still have like 50% of the book I have to read. And if you know Shadowrun, that's some rules crunching. We're already
I run
past
Pathfinder, and I know maybe 10% of the rules.
Right? I'm like, no,
Well,
there's
you only ever use like 10%.
Yeah.
What's that?
You only use like 10% in games like that, realistically.
Yeah. And I had a player that knew all the rules.
That's good.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'd have to say that's my biggest sin, and I feel bad for it. I'm going to have to repent. So September 7th, we have a game coming, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get on the book earlier, I'm going to read something, and I'm going to know how to at least do a gang fight.
You always got to read your tomes, Trey. Always.
Yeah.
Always
Get back in the book, and we'll forgive you for your sin.
Amen, amen. But I wanted to say, the reason I jumped in real quick is Juice, dude, I really appreciate you running that Gen Con chat like this. That was awesome. I wish I had time to join in because I looked and I'm like, yes, I wish I was at Gen Con, and I'm glad somebody is representing on G+. So thumbs up on that one for sure.
Thanks, Trey, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My family is clamoring for me to get back to food, so this was a real quick drop in.
Hey,
But
no
hey guys, keep up the gaming. That's what G+ is all about, right?
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Enjoy
Yeah.
dinner.
I'll do it again later
Bye,
on.
buddy.
Please, man.
But, no,
Just
I'm
thinking,
afraid-
It's almost criminal that I don't have the Lord of the Rings game because I live like just down the road from Hobbiton. Literally, it's just about an hour and a half drive that way.
Why do you need the game? You can go LARP it in your backyard. Man.
I know. Just go down to Hobbiton. I'm thinking about doing a video just like, "Hi, welcome to the Mighty Glue Stick, coming from the Green Dragon Inn."
You should seriously do it. Just go down there and pull out like a coffee table and make it. Whatever you're making, right there in front of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. AJ, what city do you live in New Zealand?
Hamilton in New Zealand. Yeah, it's it's one of the more inland sort of cities.
Okay, because when my wife's late father is a world-class astronomer, and he went to a convention there, I believe, or did something there with astronomy. He was there for a field trip, so she lived in New Zealand for a while as a little girl. And because I said, well, which island? And she said the North Island, because that's where everybody lives.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the professors I used to work with was from New Zealand. And
we get around. There's only 4 million of us, but we spread.
Yeah, you guys do. I'm beginning to wonder if Kiora is not going to become the new international greeting here.
The closest thing I had ever come to a LARPing was actually today. I had to go to my college because we were showing the freshmen around. And I live in Louisiana. We just had a couple of scattered showers, and the sun is now beating down, so it's feels like 120 degrees outside according to the heat index. So I was showing them around, and I'm glad they appreciated this because I turned around to them. I had a big group, and we were all kind of sweating and stuff, and I was like, look, I ain't saying it's hot out here, but 2 midgets just ran by saying they had to go toss in a ring.
God.
Nice.
Hey, I tell you what, though, back in the old days before it really got organized, there's some people took some hellacious chances when they were LARPing. There's a group up in Michigan that were doing the vampire LARP, and they were werewolves. So what do? They dress in camouflage fatigues, paint their faces. They go to the Stark Park at night because they've been told somehow that that's where the vampires are. They see these 2 goth chicks walking along, and they're thinking, oh, they're part of the LARP. They go up there, they basically bounce them, and they something about take us to your master's leech, bitches, which is just before they managed to get the last part out. They're looking down the wrong end of a couple of guns going, on the ground, motherfuckers, now! They were 2 undercover police women out to do a drug sting. These guys were lucky they weren't shot because they had an entire SWAT team that was backing them up.
God.
They wound up spending the night in jail.
That's an extremely difficult charisma check right there.
Yeah. Yeah, but see, that was bad, and now they're much better.
What's it called? Explain your ass?
Yeah. Okay, I don't have a skill here for groveling. Okay, so I don't get my brains blown out.
I rolled a 1. Keep on rolling.
The only smart thing they did is they left the airsoft guns in the car.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah. Because I have a friend of mine who's a retired New York City police officer, and I showed him some of the airsoft guns. He said, Frank, if I saw a guy getting one of these out of the car and I was an on-duty cop, he said, I just shoot him. Just drop it. And I said, for God's sakes, why? And he said, because you don't even want to give him the opportunity to open fire on a crowded street with an automatic weapon.
I used to have airsoft guns. Me and my buddies used to go at nighttime down to the park and shoot each other at night because we could play with them outside, and they looked realistic except for the orange tip. My buddy took the orange tip off, and then it had like this little other tip, and he painted it black, and it looked like a real gun almost if you didn't know what you were looking at. So
that's just asking for a wound.
Yeah. Yeah, like that dude that got shot in Ohio last week because he had an air rifle. Cops come in, put down.
You're talking about whoa! You're talking about the one where he's got it in one hand and he's about to set it down, and he got shot. You talking about that one?
Well, they asked him to put it.
There was one behind him and one in front of him.
Yeah, he turned.
You do realize he was reaching at his back pocket for a handgun, right? There in the video, there's somebody who broke it down. His back right hand, that's why he's putting the rifle down with one hand. he's reaching for a handgun, and you hear the cop behind him yell "gun" because he's reaching for a handgun.
Yeah, what I was saying though is I saw a picture of what he had.
Oh, okay.
If I was a cop, my God, that thing looks real.
Yeah, it did.
If I'm walking into a store as a cop with an active shooter call, because that's what they had, and I see some dude holding that thing, you know, he might not even get to put the gun down. He might just get dropped on the spot, because I'm thinking there's so many women and children around here, so many innocent civilians. Any second now, this guy's going to squeeze the trigger.
Yeah.
And how many dead and wounded am I going to have on my hands?
Yeah. I don't know. It's too bad. I don't really like how everyone's posting all that stuff, and it's more so because I think all it is hate, spreading hate. So.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, has anybody here done police procedurals as an RPG?
Nope.
You guys should try it. It's really a lot of fun. And it's amazing that if you
I'm not as into the realistic stuff as I am more into the fantastical superheroes or post-apocalyptic.
I have a
or
question
fantasy.
I'd like to bring up. It just hit me.
Okay.
I wish Trey was here. When we talk about historical RPG, okay, and you get this with Call of Cthulhu, for example, that you're playing it in the 1920s, and I've done this. One of my players is a good friend of mine who's African American. They're investigating a mystery, and they're in a little town in southern Indiana, which, by the way, was one of the largest areas for the Ku Klux Klan. And basically, the town sheriff comes up to him and says, "Boy,
there's still 2 Ku Klux Klan bases here in Michigan that
I know.
are kind of interesting." But
I said, but he come up to him and said, "I got to tell you something." And you know, and Harry was like, he knew it was coming. He says, "I want to make one thing clear, nigger. You get your ass out of this town by sundown, or we're gonna stretch your neck. You understand me, boy?" And Harry goes, "Yeah." And some of the other players were a little shocked at the language. I said, "What do you expect? This is exactly how he'd get talked to." My question is it necessary to go to those lengths to make a historical point?
Really, that really comes down to your players, man. Because if you can't just spring that on anybody. There has to be a lot of agreement around the table about what you're getting into and stuff, and you have to be on the same page.
In my games, I won't touch rape. I might insinuate that something happened, but I'm never gonna, have it be graphic at all. I won't do racism like that at all. I try to think of at my table keeping it PG-13. So stuff can happen. So there's that tension, but I don't need it to be that realistic or immersive or anything like that at my table. And I prefer it not to, because, for instance, even a second ago, and I know you don't mean anything by it, Frank, I almost feel uncomfortable with it. You know what I mean? So I just try to run things, I guess, in a way that I wouldn't mind, I guess, teenagers, discussing, in public. So that's kind of me. Even swearing I keep to a minimum. Not that I am against swearing, because I swear all the time, when I'm with my buddies and stuff. But I try to keep it to a minimum,
Yeah.
Although sexual contact and stuff like that, I typically keep. I don't even describe in any way, shape, or form, even if it's especially if one of my players are basically trying to get with a girl or something like that. I'm like, yeah, all right, that happens. Moving on this morning.
Exactly. Let's move on to the next scene.
When it comes to rape, though, I may have them hear it going on, and I'll hint at it that it's going on, and if they want to do anything to stop it or something, but I am not going into any detail farther than that. Right. The only other thing I probably won't touch upon is if a player character wants to torture a character, if they're playing an evil character like that, I'll typically can you re-roll this character, or at least change some?
I'm okay with torture.
I'm okay with.
That's what intimidation rolls and stuff are for. You can take away the unpleasantness and just roll it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with torture as long as it's like I played a bounty hunter in a D&D game. It was a rogue, but he was basically a bounty hunter. He would torture, but only when on the most extreme circumstances and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that okay. But just basically mindless torture and stuff like that is keep that away.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I one of the lessons I learned from my dad He was a very good cop. And I asked him one time, I said, Pop, do you ever like, he said, no, I don't rough people up. I didn't. He said, think of it this way, son. You hurt a man enough, he's going to tell you what he thinks you want to hear, not what you need to know. Pain's a very stupid way of doing things. You know, because you're not going to get any information out of them.
Yeah, I took a class this week for sales. I'm a realtor, by the way. And one of the things we talked about...
torture?
Yeah, no. We talked about pain versus pleasure. Pain versus pleasure, and how most people will, you know, they think they want to live a life towards trying to strive for pleasure, when really people just try to strive to not be in pain, and they'll do whatever it takes to not be in pain. So, for instance, cold calling. People hate cold calling because they can feel rejection, but if you don't do the cold calling, you're never going to get sales. If you never get sales, you're going to feel even more pain. It's just not immediate pain, so people will avoid cold calling and fail in this profession because they won't do it, because they don't want to suffer the little pain right now.
Yeah, one of the things that I did when I did my Lord of the Rings game a couple of years ago campaign, I used the Avari. Those are the elves in the east. I think I've explained it before, that did not answer the call of the Valar. They stayed in the east. They're basically dark elves. And one of the things that they had was an absolute hatred of dwarves, to the point where they hunted them down. That was their great sport. By the way, they were the Varyogs of Khan. They were the elite. They were the aristocracy that ruled it all. Anyway, I actually came up with a really unpleasant epithet for a dwarf. And I'm trying to remember the Turkish, but the translation is ugly stump. Yeah. And I had one of the Avari challenge the dwarf in the party to a duel and called him an ugly stump. And it was a wonderful bit of role-playing, because my friend Steve, who was playing the dwarf, says, really? And he said, yeah, all right, bring it on. We're going to see who's a stump by the time I'm through with you. And he said, but it was just the idea that each group had their own epithets, their own way of looking at things. Some of the things elves would refer to humans as, even the ones that were supposed to be on our side, you know.
Blunt ear and round eye.
Round eye, Yeah, I've been called that myself, so, yeah.
Isn't that an Asian insult for us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would work with elves, because they've got the sort of elliptical eyes anyway.
Yeah, almond eyes, yeah. Yeah, I once in one of my history classes, I asked a very honest and open question to the class. I said, could someone here tell me what word you use on a white person that has the same kind of pejorative and hateful baggage as the N-word? And they couldn't. Yeah, well, cracker. I said, we're down here in Florida. Crackers a badge of honor. Crackers were the original settlers in Florida.
Wigger?
Yankee?
Redneck? Kunas.
That's if you're a Cajun.
Pretty bad one.
Yeah, that's if you're a Cajun.
Well, I'm in Louisiana.
Okay.
I was like, I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
I have.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big sports fan, and a lot of people have been talking about the use of the term Redskins. And right now, the Washington Redskins, there's
even about that.
Yeah, there's a tribe that I guess is suing and trying to get the name changed, and it's not even the full tribe. And a lot of people have been going and asking, like, Cherokees and other people if they have a problem with it, and it's surprising how many don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Based on the media, I've thought everyone, Native American has had a problem with it, and they don't. Most don't. And so that was kind of interesting. In fact, a lot of them buy it and wear it as a badge of honor, the Redskins jacket, because nobody actually sits there and uses Redskins as a derogatory term towards them. You don't say,
identify with it.
Nobody says that. And when you say, oh, there was a Redskin at the bar, people think of the football player. You don't think of a Native American.
Yeah,
and so,
I'm a
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime Kansas City Chiefs fan.
Oh, okay.
And I was at a convention. I was standing there talking to a friend of mine who's Native American, Name is Owl Going Back. I realized I was wearing a Chiefs T-shirt. And so I said, Al, does this bother you? He goes, no, it's an arrowhead.
Right.
He said,
Yeah.
as long as you don't call me Chief, because that is something of an insult. You know, and that was kind of a dismissive. It's not a real bad one. And he asked me where the name came from. I said, Mayor Bartle, who brought his nickname was Chief because he worked with the Native American. Hell, he was adopted by the Arapaho tribe, you know, and all of that sort of thing. So it's no big deal.
Yeah, we have a college, Eastern Michigan is called the Eagles now. They used to be called the Eastern Michigan Hurons because their Huron tribe was here in Michigan. And actually, they changed the name because of all the media stuff. The Hurons here in Michigan have no problem with it and wish that they kept the name. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, yeah,
too.
well, we have the Florida State Seminoles who've actually...
I heard they don't like how they're portrayed, though, with the Seminoles.
They've changed it.
Have they? Okay, because the horse and the throwing the spear, I heard they don't like that.
Actually, they got a pretty good. By the way, they got a really good deal out of Florida State for allowing Florida State to use the tribal name, because all the any kid that wants to go to Florida State from the Seminole tribe goes for free. So they worked out the deal. Worked out the deal.
I take that.
And there's something really interesting about seeing an obviously Native American.
Native Americans can go to college for free in Michigan, I think.
Yeah, and seeing a Native American walking around in a Seminole T-shirt, you know, it's really cool.
Yeah, we have entirely different racial epithets and stuff in New Zealand because we've got a completely different cultural mix here. So,
what do you guys have going on over there?
You guys have the Maori.
Without being offensive or anything,
you guys have the
Maori.
Maori.
That's the thing. It's not quite a. We have an incredibly cosmopolitan culture here. It's like Canada, you know. We've got all sorts of people from all around the world. Remember that only like 15% of the world's population lives in the southern hemisphere. So, yeah. So you have a Samoan word for. Am I still connected? Oh, I can't see you guys. Oh,
yeah, I can hear you and see you.
You're just very quiet. Wow. You've got palangi, which is a Samoan word for a white person, which is occasionally used offensively, but you kind of take it with a grain of salt. Also, pakiha is the Maori word for a white person. And yeah,
do people take great offense to that stuff?
No, we don't.
I didn't think so either.
We don't generally. We're pretty laid back, you know. So we have a very live and let live sort of attitude towards that sort of stuff. And
that's pretty funny though. Actually, somebody gets called like, "Oh, hey, good morning to you too, Frank."
What was that?
They just get insulted, and everybody just like, "Oh yeah, good morning to you too."
Yeah, well, we're fairly rough with our language anyway. I mean, this is me not swearing and stuff. So you know, we're similar to we're not as rough as Australians in our language. But
is it true, by the way, that bloody is the great Australian adjective?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so I went on R&R with about 3 or 4 guys from the 2nd Royal Australian Regiment. My God, them Ozmen can drink. Holy shorts. Woo!
But the only person who will drink an Australian over the table is a Kiwi or an Irishman. That's about it.
Nice.
Yeah, we drink well.
Oh God, yes. Well, what the heck. Anyway, something else though about gaming. When you do it realistically, and like I said, my whole point of the question was, how authentic do you want to make it? Because I mean, when you get into things like, oh, we're going to do it's got to be set in England in 1190 A.D. Well, guess what? You ain't going to have any as far as I know, there's not going to be a whole lot of women going to want to play in that game, simply because of the way women were treated.
Also, no potatoes.
No potatoes?
No potatoes.
No potatoes.
Can't make
potatoes either.
Well, my mother's side of the family is Welsh primarily. Her maiden name was Thomas. It didn't get much more Welsh than that. and it's my dad's side that I'll trooped over from Germany. So.
Frank, do you find that when you're playing like a really realistic style that all your players are accepting of that, or have you ever had a character that or a player that's actually told you they weren't comfortable with it being that realistic?
I've had people tell me they weren't that comfortable with it, being realistic.
Okay.
Very few and far between, because I usually sit everybody down before we start and let them know exactly what the
What the
parameters
social contract is, yeah.
Yeah, I've had people at that point go, no, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But the most fun that I've had is, like I said, we do Ruritania for Space 1889, our own little kingdom. My friend Mike McCartan and I, and yeah, it's like right out of the book in the 1937 movie. Only he greatly expanded it. Well, one of the things that we did right from the start was, of course, the oldest may not have been the way it was, but it's the way we think it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, we opened it up to women, to minorities. We had one biography of a black woman who was a Ruritanian baroness, and she was also the director of one of the great musical conservatories. And all of that sort of thing. In other words, we welcomed and we wanted to expand and become inclusive. So the people who wanted to join the society or we wanted to play, you could be whatever you wanted to be. And I think that's very important. That's very important. And some of it gets limiting.
Okay.
Some of it gets limiting.
All right, so I'm going to go through everybody again, give everyone a chance to talk, and I'm just going to ask you a simple question. So we'll start with AJ, since he's the far left on my screen. If you could play one game only for the rest of your life, which RPG would it be?
5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow. Why?
Because it's the best edition of the game I've ever seen. I've played D&D consistently my entire gaming career. I started with it, so and it's a simple rule set that I could twist it to any setting that I wanted. Really, I could introduce anything, modern stuff, time travel, space opera.
Some modern weapons, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. How about you, Frank?
That's kind of a hard one, but of course I probably have to go to probably Traveler. The old Traveler. Because you can go anywhere in the galaxy, as it were, and come up with your own stuff. The basic tools are there to create your own universe.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
I think I'd probably have to go with... I think we go with Call of Cthulhu on this one. Because I like the mood and atmosphere and how like the Lovecraftian mythos is set up. You can do so much with it and play across, into the Dark Ages, into the future, have some weird sci-fi twist, and it's really lightweight, so you can do so much with it just by, on the fly. You don't have to sit there and delve the books all day long. You just kind of pick it up and run.
Right. Very cool. Mitchell, what about you?
Skyrim.
Skyrim? That's a video game.
You said RPG, you never limited it to if it was video game or tabletop.
That's true. That's true.
All right, you got me.
But seriously though, I'd probably go with the newest edition of Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition, and simply because it seems to be the easiest one to pick up and play for new players, as well as very easy for both the DM to get into it, as I can do a ton of crap with it. I love the way the new classes are done, and I look forward to basically the recreation of some of my other favorites in it, like the Hexblade or the Duskblade, or hell, even the Dread Necromancer.
Ooh.
Greyhawk.
The Dread Necromancer was a great class. I love that.
Yeah, I've been
class.
wanting to play that for God knows how long.
Yeah, I know your pain. As soon as it came out, I was like running consistently, so I never got to play it.
You get to play it more now, actually, Joe. Just throw in a bunch of them. What about you, Chepe? What's the one tabletop RPG you would play?
That I would play or GM.
Either or. You can only play one or run one game for the rest of your life. What would it be?
If I had to choose GMing, I guess it would be Numenera.
Ooh.
I love Numenera so much. Part of my job was helping tutor people while they were doing their undergraduate research. And so I'm just, I'm a real science nerd in general. And so being able to incorporate everything I know into that world while GMing, there's just so many things I could do. I love the setting. I love the system because it's one of those things where you can encounter one thing that could be a ghost or a phantom, and that could be like 8 different things. It could be a hologram from a satellite. It could be a delusion of some technology that's affecting you. It could be just your character hallucinating. It could be that all characters are actually plugged into a program like the Matrix, and that's actually just a glitch. So like one little anything could be anything that you could feasibly think of within science fiction and technology. And I love that little existential horror aspect of it. You live in a world where you can't really explain things because there's so many explanations to everything. So that would probably be the game that I'd love running.
And as a player?
And I would enjoy playing it as a player. As a player, I have so many ties. The games that I own probably be Indragor.
I've never heard of it.
Indragor. It was kickstarted a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe. It was. It's powered by Fate. It's a Fate supplement game. It's a dark fantasy Native American themed. So it takes a lot of South American natives and a lot of tribes that most people don't use from North America, and makes their actual mythos the basis for the fantasy world. So it's a very dark survival tribal fantasy.
So is Fate your favorite system then?
Fate is not my favorite system.
It's not your favorite?
No, I like Fate for very noir kinds of games.
Okay.
Which is why I like Fate for Indragor, is because it's very the universe is built with the idea that everyone's fate, literally their destiny, is weaved together. And so with the Fate system and how the world's metaphysics works, it feels like the entire world is you're telling a story by a campfire. Does that make sense? So the storytelling mechanics of Fate fit with that world really well. And I'm very particular about mechanics fitting into the setting, if that makes any sense. Like, I like it when they really, really mesh together, which is why there's certain settings I don't like, just because they don't really fit D20 to me.
Interesting. I don't know what I would pick. Right now I want to say 5th edition, but not all the books are out, and I wonder if it's just the flavor of the week for me at the moment.
Yeah, it could be.
You want to play a bard. That's what you want to do. You just want to add advantage to everything. Want to drop it like Pez.
Yeah. But I would probably say this is cheating, I guess. Palladium Books, their whole thing. No, I would probably choose the Heroes Unlimited setting because you can do everything from it. So I'd probably choose Heroes Unlimited.
I would agree that would definitely be my second choice. If you were saying running a game and playing in a game, it would be Heroes Unlimited, because that game has stood the test of time. I played it for 20 years. 20 years.
Yeah, it still sits well with me. Like I've said before, my problem with Palladium Books is they haven't released any new products I wanted in a long time. But I love the system. I feel like it makes a lot of sense, and from a realistic standpoint, I can just pull numbers out of my head for everything. And justify it and scale it how I think makes sense. So Heroes Unlimited would be good because I could do fantasy with it. I feel like I could do a post-apocalyptic, I could do an old setting game, a new setting game, futuristic, whatever. And then I could do superheroes. So I'd probably choose that, and it just comes most natural to me.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll go with.
I have a question here again. I'm full of questions. I'm an old man.
That's okay.
I'm full of his questions. I'm full of whimsy on occasion too, but only after 8 radishes. Has anybody here played and run the Fate system?
I have not.
Okay.
I own a Fate game.
Yeah. You know, I have the Dresden Files, RP, you know, for Fate. I have Fate core book. I've got the Fate tool. They use a different kind of gaming language in there that I'm like, what the hell are these guys talking about? How the hell does this work?
Well, it's funny you say a different language because everyone knows Main Man or Andrew Wood. His new game, he calls a dungeon master, a game master, a flame tender, and I've heard people say that a few times, and it just doesn't sit with me.
And characters are called catalysts, and it's a new take. It
sounds like a cool game. It's just that some of the terminology and the names of some of the creatures completely throw me for a loop. I can't pronounce half the words I've seen.
That's always a lot of fun. But no, I mean, I'm looking at some of that stuff. I'm going, okay, you can impel this, or you can compel that, or this is a something. And I had a hell of a time running Dresden Files. I struggled through that. Because I really didn't know what I was doing because I couldn't understand half of what the hell they were talking about.
Right.
No, I'm not a stupid guy. I've been to, World War II. I've been to World War 2.1. I've been to 3 barbecues, 2 state fairs, and a goat roping. For Christ's sakes, I've been places, and this is still not something that's just, I can't get this.
Have you read the Dresden books?
Oh, God, yes. I turned my wife on to them, and she's plowed through them, too. I can think of other systems that I would prefer to use for the Dresden Files.
Because it's a noir setting, anyway. Like, it's very interpersonal drama.
Oh, yeah.
The characters are pretty much defined in just a few core aspects, anyway. Anyway, so it just really fits.
Yeah, I suppose eventually I will, because what I do is, I always have the aha moment, where I'm reading the rules, or I'm working on thoughts, and I go, that's how it works! Bingo! I've cracked the code! So, yeah.
That's what I feel when I'm doing my programming assignments. I'm just looking at it like, I don't understand a thing, then it's all of a sudden, oh, that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, the light goes on, light bulb goes on. Sometimes sputters, but hey. Yeah. Has anybody here got a game that they think has not gotten enough love? That's kind of sitting stuff in here. Why aren't more people playing this?
Wait, games that I own
Palladium Books?
That I want?
Eclipse Phase.
Eclipse Phase?
Oh my god.
You too, huh? You too, huh, Joe?
I think Eclipse Phase is a phenomenal game. It's real heavy, but I honestly think that game needs so much more publicity because it's such a well-designed setting and just everything about it.
Yeah, it is.
Why don't you explain it a little more in depth? I don't know a lot about it. That's one of the 4 games they alternate through at the local game shop, and I saw that there was like 1,000 different creation, like sci-fi things I could do.
Oh my god! So
yeah,
the entire setting is that nanotechnology advanced so far that AI became self-aware and essentially waged war with humanity and put humanity almost at the brink of extinction within our solar system. And that's the setting, is that 3 years ago the Titan program just disappeared. Everything about that self-aware AI is just gone. And in its wake is just chaos. Like, Earth is a wasteland. You don't go there.
Yep.
Parts of Mars are no-go zones because they were, some of the first colonies and also some of the most hit colonies. And so that's like the setting. And all the characters are honestly so your mind, it's broken down into your ego and your morph, and your ego is your mind and what makes you a character. but then you can be downloaded into any morph. You could be downloaded into, you know, some.
So it's a transhumanist sort of future.
No, it is very much.
Yeah, it's like Avatar, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. And so there's that entire thing. There's so much about it, because I'm just going to show you this book real quick because it happens to be right next to me. This entire book, most of this is fluff, like, and setting material. This book is giant, so I'm not even doing it justice in the slightest.
There was a guy who was creating a character for it, and I was there for that. That's all they did for the first 2 hours, and I left because I was tired of waiting before I could create my character. And he was going through his options because you basically modify your avatar. It sounds like.
Right, because like you buy your body and then you buy things for it.
Yeah. And so he was talking about, well, I want my fingertips to be able to turn into USB ports, and then I want my a blaster to come out of my arm, and I want to have storage in my stomach, and oh, by the way, I want my spine to turn into tentacle, like just all this weird, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it sounded cool, but it sounds like everything is so gonzo and amazing.
It can be.
Like the biggest thing is, like, chances are you won't stay in the body that you build right from character creation for super long, because space travel still takes a huge amount of time. So what people do is what's called farcasting, is you just, you know, email your ego somewhere else, get downloaded into a whole new body, and continue. Which also makes it one of the most. It's one of the biggest pains in the ass about the game, is the fact that you are going to be changing out your morph stats, you know, probably every other session. Your stats are just going to change constantly.
Yeah, because one of the things you have is what is it called, Joe? The cortex.
Yeah, your cerebral cortex.
Yeah, it's just this little cerebral cortex thing back here, and as long as that's intact, dude, hell, they'll just you can have different morphs for different occasions.
Yeah, I heard you don't actually die until somebody finds where your original motherboard is, and they destroy that.
As far as I know, you keep living forever. Your data.
Yeah, until you get wiped, basically.
Right. If someone destroys your cortex and then destroys wherever your backups are held, that is the only way to really kill you. So the entire thing is that, like, if you do die, though, it's actually been a burden on its players, because then you have to you have to role play being able to, having known that you lost 2 weeks, that something terrible happened to you over the past 2 weeks. You have no idea what it was. You have no idea what you did. But somewhere within 2 weeks, you did die and have now woken up on a slab with a new body and no idea what the hell is going on anymore. So it's really cool, but hard. Really hard.
Yeah.
I find games like that very interesting, because it's sort of, where is our technology that we're currently producing going, and putting you in a context of what would it be like to be a post-human, you know, this idea that your body is actually replaceable.
Right.
What does it mean to effectively be immortal? You know, it'd
be interesting if you could do that, actually.
It's not too far away. With, you know, technology can now read dreams and stuff. It can record images in your mind.
I just want to live forever. I do. It'd be awesome. But
think about how much role playing you could do.
I know. No fear of loss.
Well, actually, the biggest problem. I'd say the biggest problem you'd have with living forever is you go crazy after a while.
I don't think I would, as long as all my friends and family are still living too.
Yeah, well, see, that was always the deal. Like, remember the old series Highlander?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was always outliving all his girlfriends. He was always outliving all his friends that weren't immortals. Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Living forever is great as long as you've got people around you that are doing the same thing.
Right.
Well, I'd still get bored. After a couple 100 years, I'd be like, okay, shit. What now? Clock out. You know, pop goes the weasel. We're out of here.
Yeah.
By the way,
got no basis of comparison.
There are 2 games that I would think of that don't get enough love, and one I'm going to agree with Joe on, and that's Eclipse Phase.
What's the other one?
The other one is Fading Suns.
What's that? Is that a Savage Worlds game? No.
No, this is one. It's set in the year 5000.
Okay.
That's not an arbitrary.
When the sun's fading.
Yes, the suns are fading. It's basically, if you're familiar with things like a medieval morality play, it's a science fiction version of a medieval morality play.
Isn't that Vance's actual, like the whole Vancian magic system? Isn't that based on Fading Suns, the story? Ah, okay.
The Fading Suns, it's beautifully done. Bill Bridges did a hell of a job with it. It's very medieval. It's basically what I call broadswords and blasters.
Right.
Which I haven't seen in a while, by the way, in terms of genre.
Well, Numenera is kind of that sort of that idea, right? That it's a far future setting with. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a science is fantasy kind of thing where there's a lot of fantasy tropes or overtones. It looks like on the surface, but everything's explained via technology or an advanced enough technology.
Right.
And those are two that I always thought didn't get enough love. I was amazed that Fading Suns didn't do better than it did, except in Europe where it just rocketed off the charts. The Europeans loved it. At least the Germans did, but somehow that's not a surprise. No, that was it's quite a game. Quite a game.
Interesting. I think that Palladium Books doesn't get the love that they deserve. But I think they are in a situation that is deserved. I think they've done a lot of broken promises and things like that, and I've said that before. And but I think their system is very easy. Sure, it's not perfect, but it's very easy to fix the things that aren't perfect, such as your speed and your number of attacks per round. So the faster or the more attacks you have per round, technically the slower you are. So you have to kind of adjust how attacks work. Because if you have like 5 attacks per round, and this person's speed is, we'll just use someone's speed is 10 and another person's speed is 10, right? This one only has 2 attacks per round, and that one has 5 attacks per round. Well, the one with more attacks you would think is faster, but if you break it down into this person can only move this many feet per round, you're breaking it down into smaller increments. So you kind of got to find a way around that. And there's been people who have made charts since a melee is 15 seconds. They've broken it down into 15 boxes, and you just evenly space it out. So if they have 2 attacks per round, it's on 7 and 14, I think. And then if you have 5 attacks per round, it's every 3. And then so you can take 2 actions before somebody else will take 1. Things like that. But it's not actually written in the rules that way.
By the way, the thing to me with Palladium is Kevin Ciambietta. Yeah, I've run into him before. What a jerk, at least to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Why was he a jerk? What came up that...
It's on a forum. He seemed to blast people that disagreed with him. Because I said something about, well, this is really not my style, and he got all defensive, and it was really bizarre.
In person, I've noticed he's very nice. I've heard nothing but good things about him from fans and their interactions with him. However, he does take a lot of pride in his work, holds it very close to his heart, which is why I think the slow delivery on books, because he edits and rewrites pretty much everything. And so I could see why he would be very defensive. I mean, this is his life. He's almost lost his business a couple times. And I'm not trying to stick up for the guy because I don't know him personally. But I've heard the stories. I've seen stuff on RPGNet from previous employees, and so I see where you're coming from. And like I said, I think their reputation is well earned, but I do think the system doesn't get as much love as it deserves. So
yeah, I wish that he would step back a little bit from some of his gaming franchises and actually let somebody come in and do an editorial overhaul.
Oh, I agree.
Do the same sort of thing that Dungeons and Dragons did, open it up to the fans and actually fix some of the fundamental problems that the setting has. Make it a hell of a lot more simpler and approachable for people, because it is fundamentally a very good system for running very realistic, gritty combat.
Yeah.
And I love the aspect of active defense written into the rules, the fact that armor has got a much more...
kind of, instead of just adding to your not hitting. Yeah, it's funny you say that too. A lot of fans have tried to take it upon themselves to help Palladium Books, and they've been given cease and desist letters from lawyers.
Yeah.
And so he's killed his own fan base.
Yeah. The very people who could be, giving him the guiding light to actually bringing the game into a more sort of competitive market with, more modern games. But unfortunately, he's stuck back in GURPSville. Yeah. And the result, of course, is Rifts, this giant sandbox that allows Kevin Simbita to play around with whatever he wants, gods and monsters. You can role-play a dragon hatchling, or a demigod, and expects people to come up with balanced games out there without any sort of guidance whatsoever. And it's just, I'm sorry, but Rifts is a nightmare.
Yeah, I've had one experience with Rifts, and I couldn't even get through character creation, because, this might have been the older one, but when the character sheet starts having things like in step 3 affect step 1, which affects step 2, which will inevitably affect step 3 again, I just go, no.
You write everything on a clean sheet of paper, not on your character sheet in character creation.
That's what I began to realize. And I was just like, I'm not going to sit here and have everything affect everything again and again and again until this final thing. Like, that's just way too much after like an hour and a half of character design. I was like, no.
And it doesn't help either that the way the book tells you to create a character is the completely wrong order. And everybody knows it who's a Palladium Books fan, and they've never fixed it. And they won't fix it. They'll just continue to copy and paste from previous books.
No, I just because the book one day and tried to do it, and I was just like, nope, I'm done.
You need a veteran to help you. Definitely.
Yeah, that's like Fantasy Games Unlimited. Some of their games, like Space Opera. 2.5 hours of character generation for a single character.
Yeah, that's not fun.
They had one called Other Suns, which I swear to God you needed a math degree to understand character generation.
I hear the same thing about like Hero System. It's kind of difficult, right? I've never tried it. Has anyone tried to create a character with that?
I did a long time ago.
I heard it's pretty crunchy and a lot of math.
Yeah, I think nowadays you're looking at people that don't want crunch.
I'm fine with crunch, but yeah, you're right. That's where things are swinging. They want simple, but they want some variance in things.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with crunch in historical war games. That's crunch. I've had some that are like this thick. It's like, oh my God, rule books that thick. Nowadays, however, the trend is going towards simpler games, even in the historical miniatures.
Look at the new D&D. The new D&D is a good example of that. They're trying to go a little more simple.
I love new D&D.
Yeah, it's great, and it seems like they're just trying to. If there are people out there that still want a lot of crunch, then it's going to be an option in some book, but you don't have to use it because we're trying to stay simple.
Well, I think the people that like a lot of crunch in D&D go to 4.
Yeah.
Because, I loved playing 4, but 4 is super, super crunch and to an uncomfortable level at some points.
Yeah. What was that, Chepe?
Or they just play Pathfinder, because you can also go that route with Pathfinder as well.
I enjoy Pathfinder. I know everyone's like, oh, it's so powerful and everything's overpowered. I'm a Palladium Books fan. I don't care if something's balanced or not. Come on. I got a Vagabond right here, and I got this Glitter Boy right here, and Palladium Books. It's okay.
Pathfinder, Mutants and Masterminds?
Mutants and Masterminds. Never played that.
Oh, Mutants and Masterminds it's a good Supers game. My only issue with that, being a Palladium Supers game fan, I like the structure of Heroes Unlimited. It's very cut and dry. Whereas they tell you exactly what the abilities and things do. With Mutants and Mastermind, it's a points buy sort of system. And with that, it can be very wishy-washy about exactly what things do, and you need to all be on the same page and explain things and things.
So do you take like a ranged laser blast and you like scale it up, or how does it kind of give us one example?
Every superpower in existence is there, and it has degrees of magnitude that you can use, and you're given a pool of points that you can buy your superpowers with. One of these ones that a friend of mine made, he was basically a guy who he was stronger than the average human, faster and stuff like that, but what really set him apart was the fact that he could regenerate faster than Wolverine, which I thought was really awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got a lot of freedom in that game.
Yeah, there's a couple of games out from Eden Studios, Witchcraft, and then its follow-up Armageddon. And these are supernatural, but the great part about it is they use a points buy, but they also use a campaign limit. In other words, we're going to do a heroic campaign. Everybody gets 100 points to structure their character.
Doesn't GURPS do something like that?
Huh?
Doesn't GURPS do something like that with their superheroes?
GURPS did something like that, although I haven't played that in so many years. I think I played it back when I had hair, and I think that was somewhere in the early Neolithic.
I know the redo of the old Dungeons and Dragons does that. Basically, D&D X. It does that. Basically, you can redo your points so that your ability scores are -3 to +3, and all of your ability scores added together equal +5.
Cool. Oh, by the way, Joe.
Yeah.
I understand. That looks like you got quite a head of hair under that cap. Can you spare me some hair, buddy? Can you help me out? Help an old soldier, buddy.
I'm losing my hair.
My hairline isn't retreating. It went in full flight, hopped on a plane, and left for Patagonia. So, hey. This is another game, too, that, well, Eden's a hard group to, it's difficult to really get into their games because they don't support them. They're in a tenuous situation where they have just enough money to keep things going, barely, but they haven't brought out anything new. They're living off the proceeds of the game store up in Upper New York, and that's where the bulk of the money goes to keep that store running. But hell, if I ever won the lottery, I'd buy Eden Studios, and you'd see some games, because I'd have stuff redesigned.
I'd buy Palladium Books.
Cool, dude.
And then I'd hire Kevin to be my creative director, and that's it. And then I would have everybody else edit it.
Yes, is it true that Kevin is really the Stephen King of role-playing games? A great writer in need of an editor?
No.
I'd agree with that.
This is what I think happens, based on what I've seen from other people who have worked for him. There are people with amazing ideas, and when they submit manuscripts, it sounds like he cherry picks them, and then adjusts them to his world, how he thinks they would work, and then he releases them. Like, I'm not going to go into everything, but if you read how Dead Ring came about, the original creators of that, that's an interesting story. And there, for instance, if you ever look back on RPGNet, some of the previous writers, I'm not going to give out names, but
very angry men.
Yeah, they've said some interesting stuff, and Kevin's brilliant. Like I said, I like his ideas, but I just think he definitely has cherry-picked a good majority of his own ideas. So
to give you an example of something that he did to one of the writers, he got a big manuscript for a big book, chopped it into 3 publishable pieces, and then didn't publish the 3rd one.
Yep, and we're still waiting on that 3rd one 10 years later almost.
Yeah, so not a good business model. And he has a habit of saying things are in the pipeline and they just never eventuate. So
Like next year, Palladium Fantasy is supposed to get the Byzantium Empire. We're also supposed to get Land of the Damned 3, which is the third book that he was just talking about. And we're also supposed to possibly get Palladium Fantasy Ultimate Edition, like the Rifts Ultimate Edition. That was announced on Seven Realms Productions video the other day, where he interviewed Kevin at Gen Con. So I don't think
It's
we'll
out
get
there.
any of those books next year, like he says. We might get one of them in about 2 or 3 years. That's just the track record.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at, for example, Exile Games, who do Hollow Earth Expedition. They take a lot of time to get their stuff out. Like Revelations of Mars have been on the cooker for a while. I know I contributed to the Kickstarter. But by the same token, Jeff and Sechin have been keeping everybody up to date, letting everybody know what's going on. And so, you know, it's like, yeah, I'll wait because they're showing me there's progress made. I understand what's going on. It's, to me, a matter of communication, especially if you're doing something like Kickstarter, where I've, you know, sunk money into it. People have sunk money into it. Dear God, you don't want to wind up getting a rep like Defiance Games.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's somebody else that got their butts burned.
Right.
Oh, no. I just heard the stories.
Oh, okay. Well, I got mine semi-burned. What they sent me, what I ordered, and what I ordered turned out to be nothing but cheap crap. Really badly done.
That's the risk you take with Kickstarter, and it's clearly in there, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately, no. This was Kickstarter. Thank God I didn't go for that one. You know how much money they raised in Kickstarter?
Oh, yeah, tons.
Tons of money, and not a dime of it ever went into producing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised.
That's why people are mad at that Feminist Frequency, too. I guess she raised like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and, you know.
Who did?
There was a YouTube channel called Feminist Frequency.
Oh.
Yeah, they raised a bunch of money. This girl did. And all she does is she knocks up. It's funny because she'll wear something completely girly and gender stereotype, she is it. And then she'll post a video about how video games or TV shows gender stereotype all the time. And people are pissed that they put all this money into her Kickstarter, and that's what her channel became. So.
Wow. Oh yeah, I know. What happened with Elisa Baden and her, Torn World? She got screwed, blued, and tattooed by those jokers over at Defiance. She really did. What was that? I mean, I'm surprised they're not facing charges of wire fraud for what they've done. Because I know if it were up to me and I'd had considerable money sunk in and I'd get nothing out of it, I'm talking to not my attorney, I'm talking to the United States attorney and wanting to bring federal charges against them.
I guess there were a couple, like someone in Washington sued Kickstarter. I don't remember what it was about, but there was a lawsuit in Washington suing Kickstarter recently, like this past year.
Yep.
And I think another state had a big class action lawsuit against Kickstarter as well. But I don't remember who it was.
That's unfortunate because Kickstarter is not really to blame for the behavior of people who use it. I mean, it's a medium, right?
Right.
So it's like suing PayPal.
Right.
It's a platform that people use. So I think there should be more options, and particularly because it's international. I mean, you're talking about state actions against somebody. Well, what if New Zealand sued Kickstarter?
Right.
Kickstarter's technically written out as donations anyway. So you have to understand going into Kickstarter that you can't look at it like a pre-order, which is what everybody tries to set up a Kickstarter to being. It's actually an investment. You're taking a very defined risk. So whenever I kickstart something, I make sure it's someone who has a history of doing a crowdsourcing before, and also they have some kind of demo product out. Like I'm a Kickstarter for Spheres of Power. They did the Rogue of Glory Kickstarter before Drop Dead Studios. So I wanted to make sure that they had a track record before getting into it.
Yeah,
that you're just opening yourself up to.
yeah. The Kickstarters I've done, I've always got my stuff from them. Mainly because I pick people I know, like Shane Hensley over at Savage Worlds. I backed Weird Wars Rome, and now I've got a very lovely hardback edition of it. Stuff like that. No, I have to know the people, or at least the company, and you're right. You are so right, Chepe. Is it Chepe or Chepe or Chepe? You are so right. You need to know who it is.
Yeah.
Look them up on the internet. Look them up on Google.
Or just be willing to support somebody who you don't know anything about, but not at a high level. Give them the dollar for the thank you or something.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, because if I were to ever do something on Kickstarter, obviously I would be a first-time user, and I think it's great for people who haven't done stuff that, they work a full-time job. It's a great way to finish, I shouldn't say finished product, because I think your product should be done before you put it on Kickstarter. I think the stuff that shouldn't necessarily be done, maybe you haven't done art layout, using RPGs as the example. Maybe you haven't done the art, maybe you haven't, gone through all that, but you've written the product. So at least you could release something if something happened.
If it all goes south.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
a conditional house sale. You're ready to go as soon as you get financing, but you can show that it's ready to go. I would hope that somebody who's setting up a Kickstarter, that will be my responsibility. That I'd expect Kickstarter to show is that they put it that you need to actually put the proof to the pudding that this money is going to here, here, and here, and here, not just any Yahoo with a pipe dream.
No, that's actually what I plan on doing. Because I've had to look at Kickstarter as an option just to fund an RPG book, and I was like, I've looked at the ones that failed, and if you look at the ones that fail, they never presented their product beforehand to show we have it actually in our hand.
Right, they got 2 pieces of artwork and a nice video that pans over it, and that's about it.
Right, and 2 years later, they're like, oh, we're kind of almost done with our book.
Right, but really they probably haven't written even a chapter of it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Just look what Monty did. He released the first chapter of his book early on, as soon as the Kickstarter was up, right? The short story.
Oh yeah.
And then he already had the artwork laid out. He already had the names and agreements already made out. And then also he had some kind of rep with what he's done.
Right. Onyx Path has been doing we'll give you the entire manuscript without art, without anything.
Awesome.
And that's what they'll do now for all of theirs, because they caught so much flack after their first few of just being super late. So people called into question them actually having written the books. Oh. So now they put up their manuscripts to see we actually have it. Everything that every delay is due to art or formatting or printing.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with having finished the book.
Yeah, no, I have the New Space 1889, the Ubiquity version, and they sent me a PDF. Angus, there at Clockwork Games, Angus Abramson, great guy by the way, tremendous dude. I got the PDF now. I'm not sure when the hardback is. Hopefully, will be here by the first of the year. But again, I at least have something now to show for my investment. It's a PDF,
right.
And I think it's that's an important thing. And if Angus puts out another Kickstarter for something I'm interested in, hell, I'll back that. Same way with Shane. Same way with Scott Glancy over at Pagan. I backed their new Kickstarter now for Horrors of War. World War I Cthulhu Adventures. And because I've actually played in one of the scenarios. He ran it at Gen Con. I played in it. So I'll always do that. If I know them and I know they're putting out stuff, I'll do that. Mm-hmm. But some of this stuff I look at and I'm like, how are they getting? I think the ultimate one is the guy that made the potato salad and got how many thousands of dollars for making the freaking potato salad.
I think he got $60,000 or something insane for it. It was just really?
Wait. What happened?
You know where that started? There's a bunch of they started that trend, but now there's a bunch of food Kickstarters to copy potato salad. But basically, a guy, in order to make fun of people not making finished products and things, or just putting up stupid amounts for like going to a convention, like $800,000 to get this said person to a convention, in order to make fun of everything. I think this guy in California just said potato salad. And he said different varieties of potato salad.
Yeah, set his goal at like $10.
So
Yeah, hell, I made.
so if you backed it, what kind of things would happen? Did it just
Who
You'd say your
knows?
name. You'd say your name while making it, or if you back to like if you back to a certain amount, he'd mail it to you. And if you backed like a really like $300 amount, like you're like, who's actually gonna do that? If you showed up at like some Idaho festival, he'd give you potato salad.
And
Hey,
people actually did that, and people gave him money to do this.
yeah,
Those
hey,
people are stupid.
I made homemade enchiladas tonight. How much is that worth?
I put it on Kickstarter and see if
It
you can get
depends.
anything.
How big of a joke will it be on the internet? If it's a joke on the internet, people would put money into it.
I will not
Yes.
give you a dime.
Okay.
I got no problem with that because people are going into it aware of it's a social
Yeah, they're aware it's a
commentary. You
joke.
know?
That's
Right, right. I still wouldn't give you a dime.
I know. I don't know why they would.
The only Kickstarter that I'm backing at the moment is the Reaper Bones miniatures one.
Oh, Reaper,
Yeah.
great stuff.
I've had a nerve there. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you did. I
they're doing
fought in April to get the last one, and my wife would not let me.
yeah.
I should
But
have
they're doing
time.
everything right. So they're my example of what a good Kickstarter is you know exactly what you're getting. They're keeping me updated with the emails all the time. There's a slight delay because they've sent some stuff back to fix the molds and things like that. So they sorry, our first wave of shipping is going to be a bit late. But they keep it's all above board. It's all explained. They've got videos showing all of the stuff as it's coming out, and you've got all your options and stuff, and they added to what the basic set would have, and the first sort of expansion thing they had with all of the extra funding that they got, which just turned it into a huge thing, which turned it into a high quality production and made it dirt cheap. So I'm looking at a support network for all the people who have to paint these things, because it's going to be just crushing to have these miniatures, like hundreds of miniatures. Oh my god!
I'll support you, AJ, and you can send me half.
I had friends who backed like the first one that Reaper did it like a year back, and no, they put $100 in, and each one of them ended up with just
Hundreds.
overload of minis.
Yeah.
Like in our campaign, we're just like, we don't have the ability to even use all these in the entire 3-year campaign we've been running.
I can
much
help you
less.
guys too.
Yeah.
You're so kind.
I'm a very selfless person. I will help you all clear up shelf space.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you very much.
I'm just kidding.
I'm curious as to what Mitchell's game was. He never got to answer the question.
Oh, sorry.
For what RPG I wished had more publicity, or
Yeah.
to be completely honest, I'm really new to the whole RPG tabletop thing. It's most of my stuff has been confined to most like D&D, Pathfinder, and Mutants and Masterminds, and that all gets like huge publicity.
What setting would you most like to play in if you perhaps
I've
we know
always
the
wanted
game?
to play a more modern day one where I could probably play like a private detective, or maybe even a modern day bounty hunter or something like that. I've always liked that kind of aspect of a more modern
Bounty
setting.
hunter.
Ninjas and Super Spies.
Yeah, Ninjas and Super Spies would probably be pretty good for you.
That's a very good game. Yeah. Again, it's Palladium, but it's actually one of the better made ones.
Yeah, there was. Does anybody here remember an old one from Flying Buffalo called Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes? Wow. I'm feeling
Frank's like,
adequate.
I am not in my own surroundings.
Oh no. Oh, I'm feeling elderly now.
We need you, Frank. We need you there to keep us to inform us youngins.
Actually, I even read an article today. I can't remember where it was I read it, and they were talking about the whole bothered about D&D, and the thing that got me was the author, who is obviously, Generation X or Y or whatever the hell they want to call it. He's kind of like blowing it off like, oh, that was kind of funny, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. I lived through that as an adult gamer. It was frickin' scary, the shit that was going on, especially down here in the South. It really wasn't. People don't realize, just how terrifying that was. And fortunately, nobody went to prison over that. But the satanic panics that they used to have, yeah, people are still doing time in prison on bullshit charges that resulted from that.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
We need to kickstart that shit.
Yeah.
But really, so I'm kind of like,
Free the
wow.
DMs. Free the DMs.
Well, you can buy prisons now, so.
Yeah, well, we do have prisons for profit.
Yeah,
Like
which is
freedom?
most of them.
Can you imagine going into prisons and running games for inmates to teach them, social?
They won't let it
Did
happen.
main man do that?
I was
Whenever
going to
he
say,
was,
main man is the main man for that. He's served hard time. Let's send him in.
Yeah.
Main man has done hard time.
Not hard time. He was in jail for a bit, but he
Yeah,
talked
it was
about that on his channel.
about 6
Yeah.
months, he said.
Yeah, over some bull crap that he was found, I think, not guilty or something. So. He was
Yeah,
fine.
relationship drama is just like the worst. The worst.
Oh, God, yes. Hey, how many people have had their entire game group blow up because of that?
I'm lucky I'm only 22, so I don't have men that put up with that
Guilty
crap.
hand raised.
I used to have a married couple that played in some of my games. Their nickname were the Battling Bickersons. They couldn't sit at that table for more than 5 minutes without starting to go in on each other. And
That's what me and my wife do. We bicker all the time, even in game.
yeah,
it's
no,
fun.
this really.
I saw you looking at that elf bitch.
Yeah, not like that.
This was just like really. I mean, finally, I just had to say, guys, go find another game. Because I'm tired of your crap. Or one of you needs to go find another game.
They sound like the perfect people to play Fiasco with.
Oh, they
Yeah.
gotta be, yeah.
Where the goal is to have everybody screwed over anyway.
Or Munchkins.
Or Munchkin. Munchkin's good for that.
I
That's
played
not
that once.
Role
That was
playing,
fun.
but that works.
Hey, Fiasco is great. God, that's a hoot of a game. That is one of the most fun train wrecks I've ever been on. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got any
Reminds me-
players in your game that are real prima donnas and love to get up and grandstand about their character for a couple of minutes, run them through a few games of Fiasco. It'd be right up their alley.
I like how you think, AJ. I like how you
What's a
think.
more old school game where it's like everybody's trapped in a building or in a city run by an AI, and everybody.
Paranoia.
Paranoia.
Yeah.
I'm an old Paranoia veteran. I love that game. I
can't
I
hold
got
it back.
killed trying to reload a
I
gun.
don't allow you to do that, John.
that's the only game where you can get killed doing an old vaudeville routine. My character was I was trying to stop a robot. My character was. I'm going, robot, does your logic circuits work? He goes, yes. All right, let me ask you this. All right? Am I on Alpha Centauri? No. Am I on Mars? No. Okay, so if I'm not Alpha Centauri and I'm not on Mars, then I must be somewhere else. And if I'm somewhere else, I'm not here, am I? And the machine melted down. His logic, right? 2 of my other party members shot me because I was a commie traitor because I was practicing Bizarro logic. I laughed for 5 minutes straight. I was laughing so hard. After they killed me, I thought it was hilarious.
That would so work in Star Trek too.
Yeah,
It would
really.
so use that.
We could all start doing the Who's on First. Yeah. The greatest double talk routine in history. Well, except for shit that goes on in Washington.
Shots fired.
No politics. No politics.
Yeah, I don't do
Yeah,
politics.
Yeah, but no, I mean, Paranoia. I understand they brought out a new version, but I love the old version. My God,
There's
it was
nothing
fun.
wrong with the original. Nothing
The
wrong
old
with the
version-
original.
No, the old version was fun to play, fun to run. Fun to run.
Certainly fun to DM. I think that's the most DM-friendly game. If you want to seriously mess people over,
Oh, yeah.
vent your frustrations on your party.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's a fun game.
To this day, I've never actually read the DM's book. Never read the DM section. I have no idea. I've only had experience as a player, so I don't know.
Oh,
anything.
I used to pull. One of them got wounded when I was running it, and I sent out a. What it was supposed to. Anyway, the bot is a maintenance bot, right? Lawn bot. But he comes up to the wounded guy and he goes, "Don't worry, madam. Women have cesarean sections all the time." And the guy's like, "No! Stop! Send in your next clone."
Yeah.
So-
Oh, actually, that ties back in with that Eclipse thingy.
Eclipse thingy phase.
Eclipse phase would be awfully hard to run in a humorous vein, I would think.
So Joe,
Run a
you
paranoia campaign.
paranoia a couple times. That way you have an idea for some interesting death scenarios for Eclipse Phase.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the death scenarios.
You read. You partially download. There was an interrupt in the signal, and you haven't got any of your memories and stuff, so you have no idea what's going on. What's
Your
this
Wi-Fi
brown thing
didn't
with the
work.
rough texture? It's a tree. Oh.
Yeah, I was watching that. I was watching it tonight on Doctor Who. When he did the regeneration, he's like, "Who am I?" Oh, that's great.
Yeah. No
No
spoilers.
spoilers. No spoilers. One cannot stress
How do I
that
know
enough.
anything?
One cannot.
Anything. Nothing.
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 Wow. All
I have
right,
a couple
so-
other shows that are like that too, where I don't want to know anything, and I will block people on Facebook or whatever,
Wow. Okay.
and I'll try to unblock you after I see them.
Can I show my game?
Yeah.
Hey, how many people grab inspirations off of television shows?
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
I think everyone.
I do that quite often.
Anyone who has a TV and DMs probably does that.
Yeah, I was thinking. Right now, I'm starting to watch. My wife and I are starting to watch the 4400.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, that very interesting premise. And she just finished watching Haven. She went through the entire first 4 seasons. Well, she used to work nights, and she never had the opportunity to see a lot of these shows that she thought were interesting. So when she married me, we got cable, I got Netflix, I got Amazon, the whole 9 yards. And so she's like, okay. By the way, if you haven't seen it yet, check out Sleepy Hollow.
Such a good show.
It is. And my daughter and son-in-law both say, gee, this looks like it was written by you, because we used to do adventures like this when you ran things.
I just have Netflix. I don't have cable right now, which now that football season's starting is kind of hurting.
Go Chiefs.
I'm a Lions fan.
What about the Cowboys? What?
We don't even need to talk about them.
Well, yeah, no.
I'm a Lions fan. I have no room to talk.
Is that padded sissy rugby that you guys play over there?
That's true. That's really true.
The first time I watched, the first time I watched Australian rules football, I was wondering when the cops were going to show up and arrest those guys, because that looked like outright assault to me.
I tell you what, AJ, I'll take my best athletes in my sport. You take your best athletes in rugby, and we'll see who wins in a game of best of 4, best of 5.
I put my money on the
What?
rugby players there.
Playing what? Playing rugby?
Both.
Rugby's not about strength, it's about endurance.
Actually, if you look at some of the NFL players and the way they could do the ball handling, like the receivers and all, you look at rugby players, and there's a lot of that goes on. If you're good as running from scrimmage, you should do fairly well at rugby if you don't mind getting the crap knocked out of you.
I mainly
it's
just
a
want to
good
see
run.
the best athletes from both sports beat the crap out of each other more than anything.
Okay.
But it would be fun to watch.
Because you got the specialization in both games. You got the
Yep.
backs are pretty much the guys who do all the running and passing of the ball and stuff. And then you got the forwards who do the taking the ball and pushing the ball through. And,
The scrum.
The scrum, yeah. The scrum is slowly disappearing from rugby, I think.
Oh, damn.
Well, kind of. I mean, it started
People
off as...
getting hurt too much or something?
It's like a hockey without the penalty box. It's not as good.
Yeah, I think some version of the scrum will probably stay around for quite a number of years, but I can see 100 years from now that'll just be a pause for something. You know,
Oh, thank
who
God I'll be
knows?
dead by then.
Who knows? I mean, the game started out as a huge brawl between groups of boys at an English prep school, so, you know,
Yeah.
it used to be nothing but a scrum, really.
Oh, well, what would I know? I'm also an American that watches real football, i.e. soccer.
That's not real football. That's called soccer.
That's the only football.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of...
Soccer's a ripoff from rugby, too, though.
Yeah, I should say
Rugby was first.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I'm a real fan of Arsenal and Bayern Munich, so go figure. I also like Barcelona.
I like the idea of soccer. I like the idea of that football is a worldwide game and that anybody can basically play. And that's also why I like Dungeons and Dragons. You know, anybody can play.
You know, I would
bring it
like
back.
soccer a lot more if they played arena, like indoor soccer, where it's smaller fields and there's more scoring. There's just more action. So I can't watch a game that nothing really happens for 45 minutes. It's so hard for me.
See, that's why I can't watch like football usually. Is because of that stop and go. Like, it's just too slow for me. Because
There's
at least
so
with
much
soccer, there's always something happening. If it's not interesting, it's something happening. Whereas football is very like, we went somewhere and now we stop, and go and stop. It's
I can't play Vampire the Masquerade. I just...
Hey. No, I tell you, one of back in the day when I was stationed in West Berlin, I dated a French girl, and she's very, very intelligent young woman and really.
Frank, quit bragging about the girls you've dated.
Was she a vampire?
I'm a married man. Okay.
I know.
Anyway, we were watching a football game on American Armed Forces radio, or rather television. And we're watching the Bears and the Vikings do one of these Bears and Packers doing one of these Central Division, mangling. And Annalise takes one look at that. She's been watching this for a few minutes, and she looks at me and she says, mon cher, wouldn't it be much simpler and easier if they just gave both sides a ball? Got up and walked to the other room and started reading a book. And I sit there for a minute and realize I just been had. She just gotched me really good, So, it wouldn't be simply, here's a ball for you and a ball for you. Go home.
Since we're kind of talking about games, do you guys have like your own like gambling or games like that in your own games? I know I've seen like stuff in certain books like they call 20 Bone or whatever, but do you guys do your own games?
There's Three Dragon Ante. It's a really good card game in and of itself.
So how do you do that?
It's basically you got a pool of money. When me and my cousins play, we play for tokens because otherwise it would come to blows. And it's basically like a very simplified. It's hard to describe. It's kind of like a very simple. Each card has got a little trick that it does, and you're trying to get suits or flights of dragons. And it's cheap and it's available, so go and pick it up.
So do you play it alongside with D&D then?
You can. You could play it in a tavern or something like that if nothing's going on. But generally speaking, there's always something going on in my game, so there's no time for characters
it's
to sit
supposed to be
around.
a canonically accurate poker game within the D&D universe.
Yeah.
Interesting. I haven't heard of that one.
That's pretty good.
Are there some other games you guys
5.0
do?
now. It's actually in 5.0 now, where if you take like I think it was criminal background, you get a proficiency in some type of gambling, playing cards, and Three Dragon Ante is one of the ones you can get.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Are there some other games that you guys gamble with in your other game, in your actual game?
My grandfather invented a game called Knock Poker, a version of regular 5-card draw, and I introduced it in my games to my players.
There's an old dice game called was a Ship Captain and Crew, which is just basically you can look it up. It's easy. I have the rules here and I can't find them, but it's simple. If you're already to have dice, then just go ahead and run a couple of quick rounds of that, for your characters.
Or liar's dice.
Yeah, yeah.
They use liar's dice.
What's liar's dice?
It's 6d6, I think. And you basically have a cup. You put the 66 in there. You shake it around a bunch, and then each player slams it down. And then they peek at their dice, and basically it's a game of bluffing. And basically, somebody starts off with like 2 2s. The next person would either have to be like 3 2s or 2 3s or something like that. And eventually it goes until somebody calls a person out. If you call a person out to enter wrong, you lose one of your dice. I think that's what it is. You lose one of your dice. If you're right, the guy tosses in his dice. Or one of his dice. And last person with dice wins.
Nice.
Someone should do a video on that, because I would love to see that.
Yeah. I would, if you're going to try some alternate dice in, say, like a D&D world or something like that, I can think of a couple. There's Pass the Pigs, which is a game which is based on throwing little replica pigs. then depending on the position they fall in is your scoring and on your points. So that would be pretty good for some peasants to play. Imagine they've got some carved pigs and they're actually throwing pigs in and playing for coppers. The other one would be Greed, or we call it something else in New Zealand, where you're basically throwing 5 6-sided dice and you're doing combinations of ones are 100, 5s are 50. You've got to have a scoring dice in every throw, and you can just carry on throwing and risking your total. And the idea is to get like 3 1s or 3 3s or 1 2 3 4 5 6 or whatever.
Yahtzee.
That's a good game. It's like Yahtzee, but you're not filling totals. You have to score every roll. Like zombie dice. Have any of you ever played zombie dice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You got to have a scoring one on every single roll, and you can just sort of risk it. So it's more complex, but just using d6s. You could do the same sort of thing with d6s to play zombie dice, except just use your d6s or d4s as an alternative, and it makes a nice simple. Because everybody's got a pile of d6s to play with, so. Yeah. And it makes sense that somebody in a medieval setting like Dungeons and Dragons would have an undead game or a throwing pigs game or dragons game.
So somebody just asked, which I lost it now on my screen, if we had heard of Fragged Empire. I've seen the Kickstarter and I've seen some stuff on Google+. The cover and everything looks beautiful. I'm going to see if I can find it and I'll do a screen share. But if you guys have heard of it or know anything about it, feel free to discuss it.
Fragged Empire looks amazing. If anyone's seen it, I haven't
heard of it.
So it's a
Neither have I.
It's a Kickstarter from Australia, I believe. If any of y'all are familiar with the Dice Stormers, they actually did a small one-shot of it, and so that's how I heard about it and saw the rule set. But it's a post-apocalyptic war kind of setting where these 4 or 5 races or whatever were highly specialized, went to war, and I guess destroyed everything. I'm not 100% familiar with it because I haven't picked up the book. But and now they're just all kind of regrouping after this great, war. So it's a sci-fi, and it looks really cool. It looks really versatile and able to pick up. And all the races seem to also represent kind of your class, because some of the races are like talkers, others were soldiers, others were this, that, and the other. So it looks like your race also defines what your class is, but I don't think it has very hard classes. But I almost bought it. But
I have the Kickstarter up right now, and the tagline looks like, "Betrayed by your creators, you are genetically engineered remnant emerging from the ruin of genocidal war." Yeah. It looks pretty cool. The artwork looks great, and like he was saying,
sounds like Rogue Trooper. That was one of my favorite 2000 AD comic series. I don't know
And
if
it
you
got-
guys have heard that stuff. It's a bit old now.
I don't know what you're talking about. It had over 1,000 backers, and it crushed its goal. It had 113,000 AUD, and they were only asking for 15,000, so they crushed it.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's good to see. And you know, I saw the guy preview it before it was actually done. He had ordered a copy of his book, I believe, on his YouTube channel, and so it didn't have all the artwork in it at the time, but he showed it on his channel. It looks beautiful, you know. So
Yeah, the production quality is really high and everything.
yeah.
Just some background on my Rogue Trooper statement. You guys have heard of Judge Dredd, right? There's a movie released with.
Yep. The latest one was a good movie.
Yeah. That is a comic book series from 2000 AD. It was a sort of an anthology comics that came out of the UK. And Judge Dredd's been a continuous, the timeline in Judge Dredd has followed a chronological order. So very early Judge Dredd is young Judge Dredd, and current day Judge Dredd is old Judge Dredd, with his knees going and stuff like that. But they had various other ones, Strontium Dog and Rogue Trooper and stuff, which are also very good, long-running series. And Rogue Trooper was they found a new Earth, and the Norths and the South of the world sort of fought over it and turned it into a radioactive biohazard wasteland. And the war continues. It's just a sort of crazy war that carries on for this place. And the only people that can live there now are the guys wearing the protective suits and these genetically engineered troopers. The Rogue Trooper is this guy who's basically gone off. He's continuing on this crazy war, but he's genetically engineered to be there. He can't live anywhere else. So, and he's got the memory chips of his squad mates are implanted onto his gun and his backpack and his helmet. So yeah, it's a good story.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because one of the races actually in it, like the soldiers, they're supposed to have that history of everyone before them, every soldier before them. And I've seen flavor of it put into their guns and everything. So it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because it's actually in the game as a thing.
Might be a Rogue Trooper fan.
Yeah, he may be.
Oh, that sounds very interesting to me.
I'll try and pull up the link right now. Yeah, it's just Fragged Empire, FRAGGED EMPIRE.com. The website looks really nice too, actually. Let's see. I haven't played with this screen share stuff very much. Right there. Here we go. Boom. All right. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Good to go? All right.
Yeah.
So it looks like a really nice website, definitely. Playable races and short story. I'll go to that real quick. Apparently it has a free download, or free downloads. I don't know if it's of the game.
Ooh. I would check that out.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Setting a summary is probably the most helpful from what I saw.
Free preview. So you can see what... Yeah, okay. So be sure to go check that out, I guess, after this. Looks cool. Definitely.
And it's even got its own ambient music. Lovely.
It does. Didn't even notice that. Now, I don't know how to unshare my screen. There we go, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it's down. It's going back.
Okay.
Webcam.
But yeah, so... Good stuff. Maybe there's some other... I'm going to have to look at Kickstarter a heck of a lot more. I'm just worried I'm going to spend money on something and get burned.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a Facebook group that's just RPG Kickstarters, where a whole bunch of creators will go and post that they started their Kickstarter.
All right, Frank.
So that's easier than scouring all of Kickstarter for role-playing games.
I've done that.
Yeah. I feel like I would be swayed by what miniatures are in the game. For board games, be like, I'm buying that board game. I could care less about the rules. That has cool miniatures.
It's like, I want that thing for my game.
Yeah. Now I got to work in some tentacle, 6 2-legged monster into my game because of that one miniature.
That's why you just play Cthulhu, then everything works.
You're fighting a balled up tissue paper. There we go.
Yes. Lightning.
Oh, good.
Actually, the
Magic
color,
missile, dark.
that creature from the color from space could just be a flashlight that just shined around the table. That would work perfectly fine. A laser pointer. Being attacked by a laser pointer.
Yeah, I feel like my players would feel robbed.
You can
Just like
get away with
cat,
it
you
once.
can't hit it. It's like
Yeah.
those cats. Nope, you miss. Oh man, good stuff. All right. Anyways, Brandon, you haven't said anything. Your mic is on mute. Do you feel like talking?
Just types into the chat, no. So,
Yeah,
Guessing
sorry,
it.
but no.
I'm guessing you're a Mech Warrior fan.
you got a
Looks
mic
fun.
friend at work.
Oh, he's at work.
He likes heavy.
Heavy gear. Is that like a Mech Warrior type game then, or I'm not familiar with it.
I would say it's very simulationist, right? It's like really rules heavy, very crunchy.
You shocked that
I
I don't
thought it
know about heavy gear.
I thought it was a video game.
Sorry, Brandon. I am not familiar with that. I don't do the Robotech, Mech Warrior, any of that stuff really.
I got burned by a very bad DM playing BattleTech.
Ooh. Was his name Kevin? No, I'm just kidding.
It was back in the past. Years
You're
ago.
trying a bunch of stuff about heavy gear, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
Anybody from the brigade?
Okay. Yeah, I've only played like 5 or 6 different role-playing games. I haven't played that many different games, really. I don't know about you guys. I would love to try a lot of them, but I don't pick up on a lot of the rules very quick. So it's just one of those things, if I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, I'm still trying to learn the games that I try to run myself. So,
Right.
you know.
Everyone has limited time and money, so
Right.
there's only so much you can do without borrowing something from someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about...
Also, there's
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
only so many games that you can play because I don't know what that was. Something weird's happening with my thing. There's only so many games that you can play that you have agreement with all your other players to play. You know, you're sitting with your friends and they don't necessarily want to play that genre or this genre, even if you do. So
Yeah. That's what
in many ways, in many ways, there's a lot of games that I would have loved to have played, but I never had the opportunity to.
Is Brandon taking our picture? Is that what's going on with this thing?
I think so.
He wants to capture the faces of the people who did not know heavy gear.
I think he was trying to link something.
Okay, he's trying to link a photo. It's a mech.
Oh, okay.
Don't mash the buttons, Brandon.
Let's see.
Yes.
Rule number 1 of paranoia.
Oh, that's cool.
The buttons.
Our one of our local game stores has these giant, like, when I went to Pathfinder Society a while back, they have these giant arcade machines that you get into and they lock you in. Like, I don't know what they are. It's like a Mech Warrior kind of thing. And then these people were playing for hours, unable to leave these pods until it was all over. I swear they were in there for 3 or 4 hours. They weren't even allowed to leave until it was shut off.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked cool because they had screens all like in the corners of the actual rooms. Next time I'm there, I'm gonna take a picture now and post it or something.
I had something like that at the local convention we had over here at Lake Charles called Cyphacon. There was this group called Mechacore.
Yeah, in fact, I think that might be it. That might be the same thing. I don't know. They were talking about that though.
Cool.
Yeah, it was like the VR simulation giant robot battle and stuff.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Scary thing is, you can probably have. Could you imagine if you had those little quadcopters all hooked up, and people were seeing giant robots, and they were actually the quadcopters were flying around a landscape, an actual landscape.
Oh,
Yeah.
They
Anybody?
like loaded up the city.
Yeah.
Well, anybody here ever done World of Tanks?
Yes,
I've heard about it.
I've heard
That is
about
quite
it
good.
too, but I haven't played it.
I stayed away from that one completely because, it's sort of like me, to me it's like, oh my God, I just found my crack cocaine, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to start. I also wanted to point out this comes into the category of things just kind of fall in your lap when you're looking through stuff. So the first thing is one of my newest game things that I got, which is Only War.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The only one of these I have because I really like the Imperial Guard.
That looks cool.
This is a very good book. However, looking through some of my older stuff, looking through some of my older stuff.
Am I backwards? I am too.
Yeah, what the hell?
Oh, cool. Aliens. Nice.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is Death Watch. This is the game that I can't play because none of my players want to play it, unfortunately. But I still want to play
Google
this.
Plus, AJ. Google
Yeah,
Plus.
I
There we
know.
go.
I know.
If you pre-gen a character for me, I'll play almost anything.
Yeah, no, so I run across this, and this is, this is the
Chepe
one.
guy. Stalker?
Stalker.
What was that, Chepe?
Yeah.
Show it again.
That based on the movie?
Sci-fi roleplay.
Based off the Roadside Picnic, the novel.
The one, the ones.
You want to know more about it?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Yeah, I do too.
Star Trek Troopers. Would you like to know more?
Stalker
Love
is.
the movie.
Stalker is. I want to play this game, but nobody will play it with me. It's a diceless system too, so it actually would be easy to do online.
Interesting. So what is its mechanic? Does it not have it? You just GM rules?
Essentially, basically, you get a number, and then you rate. You have a skill, and you match to how much they attach their skill to the action that they're attempting, and you rate the role playing from 1 to 5, and you multiply it. So the max to a 5 for their skill, and a max to a 5 on how well they're role playing according to their character. Does that make sense?
25 is max.
Yes, and so you have a challenge rating from that.
Huh. I don't know a lot about diceless systems, but that's interesting.
And it's the
So when people
skills
say
are
diceless, I say, oh, so like playing with action figures or LARPing. I don't know. I don't know anything about LARPing either, so.
No, it's based off point buy, so
It sounds cool.
you have set skills, and you have a very limited pool of points to put into those skills for character creation. And since it's a game about survival, where if you don't make a challenge, you die, it actually works out pretty well because you have a very small subset of skills, and you have to diversify in your group as much as possible. Because it's about being a group of outlaws, essentially, that sneak into areas where reality itself is breaking down. And so in order to avoid being killed by an anomaly of some kind, like space and time eroding around you, or a pool of liquid that saps out all your body heat instantaneously, you have to have a nice group with a very varied skills and be very cautious as you go in order to make through it.
Is that the only diceless game you've ever played or looked into?
Diceless RPG game? Yes.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of non-dice role playing as well. Yeah.
Do they all work pretty much the same way, where you multiply, or?
Oh, diceless role playing games? I don't know. It's the only diceless role playing game I own.
Oh, okay.
I've done normal role playing without it. I don't like LARPing, but I've done like forums or chats or things like that.
Okay.
Or in person. And
I
typically,
keep thinking the word.
we come up with some form of resolution mechanic.
Anybody here played Castle Falkenstein?
No, I've never heard of that.
Well, there's another game that you get. You don't use dice. You use cards. You use deck of playing.
I think Idris Bay does something. Idris Bay does something.
Speaking of a game that uses cards for its mechanic, what's it called? Oh, I got one on here. It's
Are you talking about the thing at Gen Con?
I don't know if it was at Gen Con. There's a game that's right now. I think it has a Kickstarter. It just had one.
Deadlands.
No, the person actually wanted me to review it, and they use cards. It's Fortune's Fool. That's what it is. And it uses like a deck of cards for its dice or for its mechanic, not a dice mechanic. And I looked through it. It looks interesting. I haven't read it, so it's hard for me to really say too much. I'll do the screen share thing again real quick. Let me get it set up right. It looks like an interesting game, and you know, I was talking to somebody else who had heard about it and was really excited about it as well. I just don't think I could find people to want to play it. There we go. Share. There we go. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it uses a deck of cards. Here's the overview of the chapters. 157. It's a pretty big book, too. Fate cards, fate tests, normal draws. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, like I said, but it looks interesting, and I would like to try it. I just don't think I have a group that would try it as well, just like you guys. So, you know, we should probably try and set up some stuff like that for people that want to play games and can't find people.
Yeah. There should be something like that.
Yeah,
You know, like, hey, join this club. You have to play whatever game that this person wants to play this week.
You must play at least one indie game every week, you know.
Yeah.
Yep, before you play your game.
Yeah. By
Yeah.
the way, I got Broken Rooms that Runeslinger's been really high on and talking about how good it is, and I went ahead and I got it, and he's right. It is a very interesting game, a very interesting premise, and should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun. But it's from the same people, Grimulkin Games, the same people that did Desolation. This uses a different system from Desolation, but very interesting. It's a game of parallel worlds. That in and of it, it's just like I said, it's unusual, it's offbeat, and it can be downright eerie. Some of its feeling. And guys, it's after midnight here. Wife's already gone to bed. House is dark while I've been here in the studies. So I tell you what, I will catch you dudes later. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, I'm probably
You
about to
too,
go to
Frank.
bed myself.
You
Man.
too.
Yeah, take care, Aaron. Thanks a lot, guys. I really enjoy these. I really enjoy these sessions.
Yeah, we'll be sure to do it again for sure.
Oh yeah, catch you later then.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Frank.
Yeah.
You're out of here too, Mitchell, you said?
In a little bit, yeah.
You're fading. Okay.
I
No
should
big-
probably call it because it's 12 here too.
Right. Yeah, it's 12 here too. I'm still good if anyone else wants to stick around, but
Take
you
it
guys
easy,
can
guys.
bounce. Later,
4
Joe.
p.m. here.
What was I gonna say? You know, the thing about some of these games with the non-dice mechanics, for me, I think it would be cool for a one-shot, maybe 2 or 3 sessions. But after that, I don't know how much I would want to play it. I think I like dice, and maybe just the diceless in general, and nothing. That might be cool too. I'd probably play that for a long period of time, but I don't know about decks of cards and things like that. It just wouldn't feel right to me.
Dice also become in handy as the sort of social moderation aspect as well. If you've got a person who's like the person who you shoot in a pretend game and they don't die, because they've said you missed. Diceless systems, I think, can still fall a little flat with that. But that's just my gut instinct. I mean, I haven't played enough diceless games to actually really have a good conclusion.
Depends on how they're structured, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be interested in playing something like that, as you say, like a little one-shot. I like the idea of having a club of people who play Google Hangouts and stuff, playing unusual games, and having to play indie games. You could say you have a point. You get a point for playing an indie game that then you can spend your points to start another indie game.
Yeah, like
you have to play.
So you get a point to play. And then you have to spend your points to run a game.
Yeah.
There we go. Because if you want to play in a game that nobody else wants to play, it's going to be kind of hard to make them run that game for you.
Right.
We're basically
Everybody
making
would like-
our own indie role-playing game.
Yeah. We've got an indie club for playing indie games.
Level of
RPG
metagaming the gaming industry.
Yeah. I love it. That would be interesting for sure.
This is an RPGception.
RPGception.
Yeah.
I should trademark this idea
Yeah.
before someone steals it and makes a bunch of money off of charging people to join their club. No, I'm just kidding. So what about free games? Have you guys played a lot of the games that are like free on RPG, drive-through RPG and stuff?
We've got a few of them. Yeah.
And do you just use them as PDF, or do you print them out and bind them, or?
I just have PDF because typically they're weird games that nobody else will play with me. Again, I have that problem. These are the games I love to play.
Yeah.
I'm not a Palladium or D20 or storyteller guy. I've never really liked World of Darkness. I just like a lot of these weird things.
That's fun.
Yeah. I can imagine if we actually did set up some sort of an indie game club, we'd have games thrown at us left, right, and centre. You know.
Oh, I'm sure. Everybody wants this game played.
Please play my game.
Right.
It'd be kind of cool if we did it in a sort of a cheesy way too. It's just like, okay, we're playing this game, blah, this week, and we sit there. It's like, we have no idea what's going on. You know?
We could
This
do it
is
in
a
short
surprise when you get
sessions.
there. It's like, all right, what are we playing today?
Right. We could do it in short, like 2-hour sessions. That wouldn't be
That's,
bad.
That's okay.
I think it was Andrew who mentioned that he wants people to play games online instead of talk about playing games online.
Yeah.
Anthony, last week?
Yeah, Anthony. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I raised this topic with the crafting forum about, is it time to put up or shut up? And it got an interesting response. I think it was a kind of a 50-50 of people who watched games and people who just watching games is like watching dried paint. I like the idea of games that are being played specifically for an audience, which are very different from playing a table game. And if you're playing a sort of a broadcasting
like
Google
PAX.
Plus, like PAX, right?
Where
So
they make
that's
it comedic.
yeah, that's like theatre sports, and Dungeons and Dragons has got an opportunity for people to play it like a theatre sport. You're playing it to be entertaining and be a crowd. It's not probably that good for a very serious game, but if you're playing like an indie club and everybody has to play this game, you don't really want to go into it extremely seriously because why
Most
would you?
people won't like it anyway, probably, depending on what.
Yeah. So if you made it
Like this week
entertaining,
we're playing Furry Pirates or whatever, just like Seven
Please tell
Realms.
me you know that game. Have you seen that Kickstarter?
I know it from Seven Realms Productions. They
Okay.
reviewed it, and I bring their channel up a lot because they are extremely entertaining with their reviews of games. They dress up, they goof around, they play up the stereotypes, and it's like a 10-minute video most of the time, and it's just so funny. I would never give a crap about that game, but watching that review had my attention, and I was laughing hysterically the whole time.
Have they done a review on Made the Role-Playing Game?
I don't believe so. No. They've done maybe 10 reviews. Their channel's been around for a while. Maybe they've done more. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Fox Winter, he posts sometimes in the Brigade and stuff. But Seven Realms Productions. Google it. Check it out on YouTube. Hilarious guys. Whether you like what they're talking about, you'll be entertained. So.
Yeah, I play with Fox, 5th edition. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I saw him in somebody's video. Was it Sean Connor's live play for D&D 5th edition? I saw him in there.
Or
I think it was Outsider 68, Sean Connor's. I think he played in his D&D one-shot back when the starter set came out.
is there videos of Sean Connors actually running games?
I don't know. I don't know if he actually broadcasted it to his YouTube or if it was just a live thing like this and he didn't record it. But I saw the tail end of that for sure when it was live. You can check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always very keen to watch people, particularly people who I watch their opinions on D&D and other role-playing games, actually playing the game.
I've been watching the Crimson Tigers. I did not watch the Champions one, which is right before that, I think. But I watched the first one and the second one, and I'm mostly through the third one. Normally I'll do my workout while listening to it, and I've been pretty entertained. I've gotten a lot of ideas from DMJ's videos on that.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I'm in the same
Definitely go
boat.
check that out if you like D&D. Just
Speaking of
an interesting take. So, what was that?
So have you heard of this? Wicked Fantasy? Oh, sorry.
I have not.
Never heard of Wicked Fantasy?
I have not. Never even seen that. Nope.
Nope. Good.
Now you have to talk about it.
Okay. It's you could say it's you could call it a Pathfinder setting, but it's based off of Pathfinder, but it practically runs as its own game. If that makes any sense, because most people say there's balance issues because it's even overpowered for Pathfinder. But yeah, I know, right? You didn't think that was possible, but it is.
Palladium Books.
Palladium Books, yeah, essentially.
That's all I gotta say. I'm a dragon. Whatever.
Heard of John
I'm a
Wick?
cyborg dragon.
There you go.
Yeah. Like John Wick Presents or that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like what was it? Legend of the Five Rings. House
You know,
I was just going to mention that. I was just
My
going to mention
Savage
that.
Worlds group wanted me to play that, and I don't want to jump into a whole nother game right now for a campaign.
Well, he made Wicked Fantasy. That's what I was saying.
Gotcha.
And basically, one of the best revisionings of classic like token D&D tropes that I've ever seen. Like the flavor is great, and what people have a problem with is that it's the balance of power that's given to a group of players, like the party in general. It's not necessarily even to just one person. It's you have a character that could basically make it so the party doesn't get any ones, essentially.
Because he buffs them or something?
No, it's archetype. They have an archetype for every single race and whatever classes are available to them. There's 30 archetypes in total for the world, so you have multiple classes for each race. There's 10 races, 3 archetypes per race plus the normal version of the class, and each race has their own Paragon class. Like, it's really in depth. And
Are they really specialized? Like,
yeah, let me put it this way: they made a class for halflings, right?
okay.
And halflings, they wanted to find a way to. And John Wick has his own blog, like video log of all of the designer notes. I think him and what's her name, Gillian Fraser, who also made it. It's on John Wick Presents. It has their own blogs that are going through all the details of them making it. But they wanted to revision halflings, right? Because he never liked halflings.
Oh, yeah, I'm subscribed to his channel.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's way down on the list.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't release that many videos, I think, is what's up. Sorry, continue.
That's fine. For halflings, he thought, what if halflings, like their Paragon class, because, like, the class that defended the race, the class that defines it, was James Bond. So his entire thing, he remade halflings into something that made sense to him. Since they were supposed to be a peaceful race, they should have been devoured by most societies, right? Because halflings, it doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't have been wiped out.
Right.
Well, halflings were designed by something, quote unquote, in the setting. They were made. They weren't born. They weren't evolved or born or whatever you want to say, created by a god. They were made by a being as servants. And as a servant race, they actually sneak into other races, and whatever name that that race gives them, that will be their name to that race. So, like, halfling was like a derogatory term used for them. So they're called halfins, I think, in the Wicked Fantasy settings that humans gave them. And so they moved the class, the main class for halflings is a butler. And a butler is basically someone who retains the memories of the race, including magical marks, basically just like James Bond's gadget, that you can place around a building or around a campsite. And a butler gets like bonuses to all these skills and things like that. They're just basically really, 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 really good at all the minutia stuff of setting up a camp or protecting an area or doing investigation. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what a halfling butler is. And I just love that idea of being a halfling butler because it makes sense because they're small, so you wouldn't normally notice them. So they can just come in and out of rooms and be like, "Would you like your croissant, sir?" And then it's like poison because he like offended the halfling people. Are the secret agents as they're a butler for the royal families of humans, but they're the secret agents of halflings to protect.
So they're
them.
like spies, kind of.
Yeah, they're spies. They're James Bond as halflings. So that's how
And nobody's
halflings.
onto them, even though everyone uses them, though.
Yep.
It
Everybody
could be like
believes
the
that they exist.
Bothan.
That's why they don't pick off halflings, but they're just such good servants that they want them around. Like aristocracy, no matter what, wants them there.
Right.
Yeah. It's like an assassin's society. It's like, why would you have assassins knowingly in your midst? It's because all the nobles use them against each other.
Yes,
It's the accepted form of assassination.
That's how they survive. I love that take on halflings. And there's a lot of interesting things like that. Like elves are petty.
I'm cherry picking that for my next game. Halfling assassins.
Yeah, that's.
That's what pixies. Oh man, pixies in my game. Somebody asked the question: have you run any games where it's just one race and pixies?
For real?
You had domestic pixies?
Yeah. Because that's the only way you can have pixies in your game, really, is just have everybody pixies. And it was a great storyline. It's like the forest was suffering, so this bunch of the forest was suffering, so this bunch of pixies. Bear with me. Bunch of pixies went out to find out why the forest was getting cut down, and it was because there was this big war happening. So they're building siege machines. This big bunch of this is set in the prehistory of the Dungeons and Dragons world. So it was the Gith. They'd just been freed, and they were hunting down an arc wizard, Eladrin. So there's a elven wizard in the material world, and there's an Eladrin wizard in the Fey world. In the material world, there's a big lake, and in the Fey world, the lake is gone, and it's a big chasm. And underneath, there was some those one-eyed giants who were trying to
Cyclops.
Baelor, the big Fey giants. Anyway, there's this giant, and he's trying to chop down this basically, and so the story is there's a big war going on in the material world, and the pixies can drift in and out of the Fey world and the material world at will. They just find a spot of sunlight, and because they're so inherently Fey, they can just cross between the two places. So for them, the two settings were one and the same sort of thing. It was like the world and the natural world and the Fey world just crossed over for them as per normal, and the players just sort of took this for granted. And what happened was they ended up things kind of went awry for the Archwizard, and they got involved in this conflict and sabotaged a whole heap of siege machines and drifted into the Fey and got infiltrated right up to, because nobody was paying any attention to the pixies, and they infiltrated right into the inner sanctum of the Archwizard. And he was like, "Oh, I can use your innate abilities to fly between the realms to create a spell that will channel the mundane world into the Fey world and cross the two over each other, and so I can flood the chasm with the lake, which is in the material world, and get rid of the giant." Unfortunately for the Archwizard, this went terribly, terribly wrong because of the messing around of the pixies, who just make everything go bad. And one of them was stuck inside a test tube, and getting all of this stuff was channeling it through its brain because the Archwizard was using it for experiments. And it wasn't quite a vivisection sort of material, but this was a torturous thing that was going on. So they were all, "Oh no, we must get him out of there," and disrupted the spell at a critical moment. The Archwizard was torn asunder through reality and ended up becoming, his head got pulled through multiple realities. So he's being pulled into the far realm sort of thing, and his head mutated and got torn asunder and turned into every single beholder in every single one of my campaigns since then. So that was how I kind of run the far realm, and magic goes awry. So every single beholder now knows that every single pixie was responsible for the creation of all beholders. It's messed up. It's the far realm. It's like I play it so that the players will be like, "What's going on?" Anyway, so the pixies got thrown out. Everything went horribly wrong. The war ended. The landscape got shattered. and the pixies got thrown through time and ended up reappearing 200 years later, they sort of drifted into the edge of this anti-magic zone and then popped back into reality again. They went back to their village, everything had carried on without them. They felt a little bit displaced because they were now legendary characters that had saved the village, and they eventually trekked across the landscape because the forest was now dying. They got involved with some Fey dragons, which are hilarious. I had a Fey dragon called Expectation. It's great. Anyway, and eventually the campaign wound to a close when the pixies went all the way to Sigil, the city of doors, and became the mafia of Sigil.
So you're telling me I have to play a fairy?
No,
no problem.
I'm saying I'll never run fairies again. I'll never run pixies again because I couldn't top that campaign. It was fantastic. And also, if you run across pixies in Sigil, the city of doors, in any of my campaigns.
All right, guys, I think I'm about to head out.
Later, Mitchell.
Bye, Mitchell.
See you, Brad. I will probably need to head off as well too because I'm going to go and see Doctor Who at the movies soon.
Oh, you punk.
Yeah, I know.
I'll see it when it's on Netflix next year.
Next year? I can't unspoil it.
Whenever it hits Netflix.
All right.
Later, buddy.
Okay. Catch you later, guys.
All right, I'll probably head out here soon too. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Chepe and Brandon. Even though you didn't talk, except in the chat on the side. One of the things we didn't get to talk about was Talislanta. I guess somebody had mentioned that. I don't know much about that. I've heard of it, but have you played that before?
I downloaded it because you can get it for free. So I've read through several of the books, but I haven't actually gotten to play it yet.
I might have to download that.
Play it, so I might end up being able to run something.
Yeah, yeah. We should really think about doing that indie group thing. That might be kind of fun.
I could give you a huge list of things you will never want to look at.
Well, you know, as long as someone makes a character for me, I would play whatever, but can't guarantee I'd be that into it.
No.
As long as I'm not a fairy. That'll work for me.
I don't mind.
Well, you can be the fairy, and I will not.
I'm good with that. I play weirder things.
What's the weirdest thing you've played?
What's the weirdest thing I've played? Oh. Right now, I've played kind of a Asian Russian female dwarf named Jaren.
An Asian Russian female dwarf.
Yes, rogue, who owns a brothel, and well, kind of. It's more of a Hooters, but people suspect it's a brothel, even though it's technically like things happen. So it's expected to be a brothel, but it may or may not actually be. And she's middle-aged for a dwarf, but she's kind of a cougar. She goes for younger females. she's
like 90 years old because she's middle-aged for a dwarf.
Yes, and so she has an interest in younger human women or other species women that she likes to collect, essentially.
Right.
She has a nice smoker voice, too. She likes to talk like this a lot, and it's great. And she smokes a pipe all the time, and her throat's damaged. I love that character.
That's funny. I've never played a female character. I don't know if I could, other than when I'm running a game. I have a feeling trying to play something like that for a long period of time would take me out of it a little. I tend to play a lot of humans, and I've played elves. Yeah, I haven't played anything that odd. Just humans and elves, pretty much. So, yeah, I'm kind of boring, I guess. Normally I'm a fighter, just the standard fighter.
Do you do, like, Code Honor fighter, bodyguard fighter?
You know, it depends. Like my lizard guy, for example, right now, I'm thinking, like, agile, like I explained earlier. Let's see, my old Encounters character was actually a paladin, so he had his code, which I broke first session and decapitated someone. So we quickly said that I was a dark paladin so that I wouldn't lose my powers. But that was for a D&D Encounters last year, which I liked that character. I hated it after I had messed it up that first session. Then when I got there the second session, he's like, no, you're a dark paladin now. And I fell in love with that character. So that was fun. let's see. I'm playing a fighter in a second edition game that we haven't played in a couple months. He has no code. He's just kind of like a mercenary bounty hunter style. At least that's how I envision him. He's an elf with max strength for second edition, so 18 and then like a 90th percentile. So it kind of varies. I'd like to play a ranged fighter that will use daggers and then bows and arrows. And that way, if he's got his daggers out, he could always resort to throwing them if someone starts to run away, and play him more as like an assassin-style fighter. So not a rogue, but an actual fighter.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool. It would probably work best for a second edition game the way I envision him.
Because there's penalties out of everything, like Pathfinder. Like, I've tried doing the dagger thing in Pathfinder. It sucks so bad.
the offhand thing.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah. But most of the time, for instance, right now, the only games I'm playing at the moment, like that are active, is the Savage Worlds Shinetar, which is a fantasy style setting, and then I'm running Pathfinder for my group at home. And I'm going to film that next Saturday. It won't be live or anything, but I'm going to film that and I'm going to post that up because people have wanted to see it. See how bad I am at running games. So, but yeah, I would like to play in more games. I can't say too much right now, but I did make a dwarf cleric for a game coming up for Google Plus. Third level dwarf cleric. I posted that online. And so it's my first dwarf that I'm playing and my first cleric I'm ever playing. So I'm really excited. And I'm going to try and play more spellcasters in the future, just because I want to try and branch out a little more. So, but yeah, no weird characters for me. I need to play more weird characters.
There's a fighter I really want to play. It should have, I think, was it Power Attack or Vital Strike, something like that?
Oh, from Pathfinder?
Yeah, for like the first hit. He just takes that as much, and any subsequent things to enhance it, like improve Vital Strike or whatever.
It might be Power Attack?
Power Attack, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be that.
Fighter with a rapier. And he's a 17-year-old boy who was magically experimented on as a kid. And he was left handicapped, essentially. Not mentally handicapped, but he had like a very Tourette's kind of thing. And so he has to like stare off and like move his head in all directions. He can't look at one area at one time, and it's very obvious that he was tortured in various ways. But he has like the most helpful servant kind of personality, because I've met people in real life like that, and I would love to emulate that kind of thing in a game.
Oh, there you go.
Power Attack is his Tourette's acting up when he sticks the rapier in, and his hand just eviscerates the guts, like he just shakes his arm really, really fast. Is that a threat over there? Sticks it, and then suddenly his arm just convulses wildly, and guts are flying everywhere.
That's awesome.
There's so many weird characters. I never play normal characters.
Do you like playing females?
I don't like playing characters that are my age, race, and gender.
And I'm the opposite. I like playing characters that are like me. That's funny. I'm trying to get away from it, but
I've played a Sylvan before.
Okay.
That was for a one shot. I've wanted to play him. He's more similar to me, I guess. He's I don't remember the name I gave him, but his concept was, you know how they have Cloud Gazer?
Okay.
He's a sorcerer rogue, and so he could cast what was it? I'm messing up. Clouding Mist. What am I thinking of?
Yeah, it's a cantrip.
Not just the cantrip, but Obscuring Mist, and all those kinds of spells.
Mm-hmm.
You can cast them multiple times. His Bloodline gives it that as bonus spell, and I just keep doing that. And so he's a rogue, and he likes to...
That's what my wife's character in our Pathfinder game, she's dual class now or whatever, or multi-class. She's a rogue fire sorcerer. And the other player in our group wanted to play that until he found out that she was going to be that. And he was saying, oh, I want to use Obscuring Mist and this and all the time.
Well, I wanted that because that's his people's way of dealing with lack of dexterity. Like, I didn't have that good of a dex. And so, because of Obscuring Mist and because of Cloud Gazer, Concealment didn't apply to him, but Concealment applied against them, so they didn't have their dex bonus, right? And so he could just sneak attack people.
Yep.
And so I wanted the idea that Sylvan, their co-op, or their, their special forces, were just a bunch of Sylvan rogue sorcerers coming in, and you just hear roaming fog go over like a fishing village, and then you just hear sounds and blood and everything coming out.
Everyone dying.
Yes,
that is awesome too. I'm stealing that from a game.
Like Sylvan, I'm interested in all the weird races as well. I like Sylvan a lot. I like what is it? I like Tieflings a bit.
Tieflings.
Yeah.
You like the cat folk?
Catfolk, I really want to try Catfolk. I just haven't found a story version of them that I really like. I don't like Galorian because it's a patchwork setting. They did it specifically in a way that everything could fit in. Kind of like
they could fit multiple genres in one setting.
Yeah,
I actually like it for that reason, and they make it big enough that they don't need to overlap or anything, which I like. I would never use the robotic area, I don't think. But
Lumeria, right?
I think so. It's the one they're currently doing, I think. I'm not sure. I have no interest in that. I like Varicia. I like Cheliax. I like basically everything all the way down to pretty much all of it. I like the deserts, the ice, Linorm Kings.
You normally confine it to one area when you do a campaign.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see doing that.
You know what? When I ran a short, 3-session game for my wife where we were in Varicia, and I had plans to move it to the north, but we never got that far. So I like the epic style campaigns where they will sprawl across continents in the world if I can, and I think I get that from my love of Final Fantasy.
I can see that. Going on the air jets, going everywhere, or what is it, airships?
Yeah. Obviously, you start small, but then once you've gone there, you branch out, and then you do more. I
love that feeling. I would prefer to do that in something like Midgard. At least Midgard still has that, glaze of Eastern European kind of thing over the entire setting.
Right.
I feel like Glorian's patchworkiness kind of. It breaks immersion for me because I'm just such a stickler for that kind of thing. I know why people love having Galorian because you can do anything with it.
Yeah, you want to mix up your game, but you still want to play Pathfinder. Just pick a different part of the world, for example. Yeah. There's things I don't like about it for sure. I don't like there's like a city that floats in the clouds or something. I don't really like that. Like I said, I don't like the technology thing. I don't like the area that's dedicated to gunslingers and stuff, which I think is the same area. I'm cool with gunslingers in my game, and I'm cool with ninjas and samurai as well, but I think it should be rare, and I don't foresee myself playing in those areas, I guess.
What's the Japanese ghost setting for Pathfinder that was supposed to be being developed? But they only have one adventure.
I have the Dragon Primer or something. It's that one continent, I think. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm not sure which one it is right here. So I have a few of these. I probably wasted too much money on these because I don't think I'll ever use them. This is the only thing I have for that one continent. But, yeah, Dragon Empire's Primer. So, I don't know. I mean, I would allow it. Like I said, I'd just make them real rare. And then the other continent that they haven't even really talked about people have said, oh, there's going to be Vikings and Native Americans and stuff like that. I'd be interested in seeing what they do with that, if they do anything with it anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know. So, anyways, I'm probably going to go to bed. I am super tired.
I was about to say the same thing.
But, yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll probably do this again in a couple weeks. If you're interested, I'll probably post it in the brigade or something again.
Alright,
See who joins.
I just wanted to do something because typically I only comment on Facebook, so it's like, well,
Yeah.
might as well contribute somehow.
Right, yeah. No, you need to get your channel going. Even if it's just live chats and live plays. Get it going, man.
Yep.
The more stuff that's out there, the better, because we can get people to join the community. And
I could be the indie niche person.
There you go. You got your thing right there. You're the organizer for the indie gaming club.
No, I would not want that on I would not wish that on anyone.
I would take it up. I just don't know enough about indie games. And I wouldn't be politically correct either. If someone comes in and starts trying to boss their way around or whatever, I'd just boot them. Like, now you're a jerk.
That kind of thing.
Right.
The internet, if people have the freedom to do something, they will do it.
Right, right. Yeah, that's true.